Hey guys, Froggy Mongo here. Today I'm going to be revisiting one of my most popular videos since the release of Gothic, which is how to build a good sealed deck in Gothic. So if you remember, one of the first videos I released was me opening a box and building a bunch of sealed decks. And people really found that helpful early in the format to kind of figure out what is good, what is not, sharing my thoughts on what I think is playable, basically. So if you watched the video before this, my wife and I opened this booster box of Gothic, and I promised to put together a bunch of sealed decks based on what we opened. So today I'm going to go through the cards that we opened and build some sealed decks, and then at the very end I'm going to do a special sealed deck build, which is for my Chicago Escalation Sealed League. So 2 of the packs that we opened in that box are from Gothic, and then there's 2 packs of Beta, 2 packs of Arthurian Legends in this pile, and that is what I'm supposed to use to build a sealed deck. And then I think it's like every week you add a few packs and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe I'll do a follow-up to that to see how my deck evolves over time. But anyway, so I'm just going to sort through these cards, and then we're going to build some sealed decks out of it. The reason I'm making this video is because there's just a lot that I got wrong in that video, and it always made me kind of feel bad that I released this video, tons of people watched it, tons of people took the lessons that I gave in that video and tried to apply them to their own sealed decks and drafts, and it turns out that I think I just really didn't understand the early things to do in the format. Like, I was super high on Earth Water as a deck, because there's just a ton of 3-drops, there's a ton of just beefy stuff, and I thought that that was the way to go. It turns out that the format's much faster than that, so I wanted to revisit it because I honestly think Earth Water is one of the worst decks in the format. I also, in that video, if you remember, I was really low on a lot of these air cards like Bound Spirit. I thought was really bad. Now I think it's maybe in the top 10 ordinaries in the set. So just a lot has changed, and I thought it would be important to just revisit this and see what kind of decks we actually end up building. So yeah, that is what we're going to do today. Yeah, and let me just make sure, is everything... Yeah, I think everything looks pretty reasonable in the video. Ooh, we have a Savior in this pool. That's going to be super important. Animist, I think, is unplayable. I think literally there's not a single elite or unique avatar that is playable in this set. So yeah, Animist, we're just going to put that to the side. That's not really going to be a consideration. I guess I could look. And then we have a Blade of Thorns. I think Panpipes of Nam is maybe playable in Necromancer. Torch and Pitchfork I really don't like, but also a kind of a Necromancer card. Scatter, I know like Portland Stew's a big fan of this card, but I don't really love it. But these are maybe considerations. These are just, I'm going to make a pile of cards that are just not even worth considering at all. Let's just look through here and see if there's anything that like jumps out at me as super powerful, something to keep in mind during our deck build. Nope, not, oh, actually, yes, there is. There definitely is. Wuthering Heights. Probably the best site in the set for limited? I don't know. Yeah, Wuthering Heights, super powerful. Even if we don't end up playing air, I would like to put that card in my deck, and it just won't produce threshold that matters, but obviously it's going to be really good. But let's just start with air. So Avenging Angel, Vesper Swarm, those are both very powerful exceptionals. Master Necromancer, I think, is good. It's not like busted like you might think, but I think it's a good card. Static Servant, good at killing skeletons. And then Screamer, Bound Spirit. Bound Spirit plus Broomstick Witch is really nice. Also, if you're fire air and you have Flame Skull, that's the fire spellcaster with Airborne. I think that's a really nice combo. So if you end up in fire air, you can play a lot of Bound Spirits. But honestly, I will play every Bound Spirit that we open if we are in air. So yeah, and then Gift to the Raven's just kind of bad. Like, I think it's definitely worth considering, but it might get cut. Witching Hour is something that I'm not going to like build a deck around necessarily, but I think I'll look at the end and see, can we play this card? You know, if we have maybe like at least a third of our minions are good with Witching Hour, then it's going to be good enough. You don't need like your entire deck to be evil or something for that card to be good. And then these are the other cards. I think Gossamer Ghost, I used to be pretty low on Gossamer Ghost, but I think it's actually fine. I don't like the double threshold, but it's worth working around, I think. Foul Bones, I'll basically never play. I'm just going to put that over there. Pith Imp, yeah, probably never playing a Pith Imp. We don't even have a Wiccan Tools. If you don't know, he steals a card at random from a player, and then if you are able to give him Spellcaster somehow, then he can actually cast that spell, and if you can do that, it's busted, but I've literally never seen someone do it, or even really come close to doing it. Hollow One, I'm still unsure about this card. I don't think I've ever played it, or played against it, but obviously 3 mana for 4 power is very powerful. But yeah, how many beasts do you have? Really not many, and mortals, yeah, there's plenty of mortals, but like if we look at this deck, there's 1 mortal here, 1 mortal here, and that's it. So yeah, you have to be like Earth Air probably for this card to work, so we'll just see at the end if that's a consideration, but it's definitely cuttable. And then Bone Spear, I think you only play Bone Spear if you're Necromancer, although we do have Master Necromancer, but I don't know. You need to have a lot of skeletons. Like, you just don't want to have to sacrifice a real minion to cast your Bone Spear. So yeah, air looks pretty decent. Let's look at the other stuff. Abyssal Assault, I've been really disappointed with Abyssal Assault. I think I was hoping that there would be like a real deck that can play this, but there's just not enough monsters really to make it work. But maybe we get there. I kind of doubt it. Like, I just have not seen it come up, and like Slug and Shogoth are obviously great with it, but these cards on their own are just not that good. Like 7 mana is just too much for limited. But yeah, Mesmer Demon, amazing. Let's just grab all the good 3 power minions, of course, they're all playable. Weather Trunks, definitely playable, not amazing. Demon Hunter, there's like really not that many demons, but if you need a 2-drop, it's gonna be good. Like, I would put it, I guess, slightly above Muddy Pigs, just because the upside of this is going to be quite good. So we're probably playing that if we're playing water. Yeah, I would really prefer not to put Shogoth or Slug in our deck. Sometimes, you know, Sealed is a bit of a slower format, so you can maybe get away with playing these a little bit more often in Sealed. So they're a consideration, but not really something I want to play. Overflow is very, very bad. I don't like Overflow or Landmass, and Overflow's significantly worse than Landmass. Return to Nature is just complete air. Like, I don't think we're gonna end up playing a random 2-mana cycler. Like, the cemetery part of this card really doesn't matter very often. The Flood, okay, let's read the Flood. Permanently flood the entire realm, including voids. Submerge everything except 1 minion of each type. You have to have all minions of different types, and your opponent either have minions of the same type or multiple minions of one type for this to do anything. And it's 6 mana, 4 water threshold. I just don't really believe in this card. I would honestly be curious to like put it in a deck and just see how it works out though. So maybe, but I think if I was going into a real tournament, I probably just wouldn't play the Flood. I think it's just going to be really hard to set up. So water has some okay stuff. Like Ice Shards is definitely making the cut if we're playing water. But yeah, just to point out, so I thought air was the worst element early on. I think a lot of people did. And it turns out that water, sorry, did I say air? Yeah, everyone thought air was the worst element. It turns out it's actually like pretty much tied with the other 2 really good elements. Earth, fire, air are pretty much right at the top as the best. I think Earth is probably first, but then air and fire are very close. And then water is like a good amount worse than the other 3. So I don't see anything really in this water pool that would pull me toward it. So I'm very unlikely to play water. I'm pretty sure we're not playing water. Let's just shrink this pile. If we need to come back to it, we will, but I'm hoping we do not need to go back to it. All right. Redmine Hyena is fine. Corruptor Freak is really nice to go with it. Raise, I just don't want site destruction. I think blowing up your opponent's site is just not that important. Gift of the Serpent is excellent. But let's just grab the minions first. So we got Flare, Vandal Imp, blowing up random artifacts. No way we're doing that. This is a minion, but technically it's not really, I mean, it's not, it's just removal. That's technically a minion is what I meant to say. Grief Larvae, yeah, that is just going to die randomly. Lash is very bad. Flaming Skull is excellent. Trial by Fire is obviously excellent. That's another removal spell we can put there. Granary Rats like screws Threshold for some reason. I don't know what that card's doing. Profane Revenant, I think this is another Necromancer card. I just don't really see ever playing this. Like if it's ever a 0 power minion and just dies, like that's just going to feel terrible. So yeah, Fire's looking okay. It's not super deep. I think we're going to have kind of a spread out pool here, which is always kind of difficult to build. So we'll see how that goes. Guardian Angel, Holy Warrior. I guess let's start with the beefy stuff. So you got Guardian Angel, I see a monk here, I see a zombie horde, and then I see another monk, a foil monk. So that is very nice. Guardian Angel, monk, zombie horde. Liking the start of Earth, okay. And then we have, I guess we'll go down the curve then. So we got a couple 3-drops. We have a Night Watchman and a Penitent Knight. I think that's it. All right, and then we have Holy Warrior, and then technically we have a Townsfolk, and then we have a Noisome Twosome. So obviously you don't love Townsfolk. There's 1 mana, 2 power, but they're actually fine. Like they're actually might just be better than some of the kind of crappy 2 mana, 2 power minions. Like having it be 1 mana is an upside that is kind of significant. So being able to double spell at some point is good. Smite, obviously, like maybe the best removal spell at Ordinary, maybe the best Ordinary in the set. Gift of the Wolf, pretty close behind Smite in the power level ranking. And then we have a Revered Revenant, which is incredible in this deck because we have Savior. So the real thing you want to do with Savior is have some things that you can play on turn 2 with a ward. So, for instance, Eltham Townsfolk is strictly better than Holy Warrior in this deck, because you can play it as a 1 mana, 2 power minion, or you can play it as a 2 mana, 2 power minion with a ward. So Townsfolk is just strictly better than Holy Warrior. That is really nice to see. Yeah, really like that. Cemetery Rats doesn't really do anything. I didn't even see a single card that we can play from our cemetery. And then Undesirables, really don't want to be playing this card, but it is a consideration similar to like the Slug and the Shoggoths. Like, I just don't want to play a 6 mana minion if I can help it, unless it's a really good one like Lord of Greed or something like that. And then we got this Blade of Thorns. I think Blade of Thorns is excellent. I'm really low on equipment type artifacts, but this one is really significant. Like +3 power is crazy good. Like turn 2 Revered Revenant, turn 3 put a Blade of Thorns on it. It's a 6 power minion. I mean, you're not really doing that, obviously, but that is what you could do. Like having a 6 power minion really early in the game is just going to be insane. So yeah, let's take a look at this. So I think we are almost certainly playing Earth. We've got good removal. We have a bunch of things that we can put wards on. We've got good top end. Yeah, good interaction here. Not a ton of interactions. Only 1 Smite, 1 Gift of the Wolf, and then there's not like any charge minions or anything crazy like that. I guess technically Guardian Angel is interaction, but not really. Okay, and then I guess Blade of Thorns is also a piece of interaction, because you can't just play it and kill your opponent's minion with it. Let's just see how many cards we have so far. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13, so slightly more than half, which means that we might not be able to pick fire as our second element just because it's so shallow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that would get us to 22, is that right? I guess that's not too far off. But I don't really want to play like a Torch and Pitchfork. And then what is our other option? Like Revered Revenant. Even though we're like a Savior deck that doesn't want to play evil, that's kind of awkward. I guess Grief Larvae. No, that's a monster. Yeah, and then Panpipes of Nam doesn't really do anything in this deck. Yeah, so let's just see. I guess we could play Undesirables and like a Torch and Pitchfork if we wanted to do Fire Earth. That would be 24. That doesn't look that bad. But okay, let's take out these two cards and just see. What if we chose Air? Yeah, this looks like it's probably a pool that I'm going to want to build two different ways and just take a look. And then Water, I don't want to play like these cards. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards. Yeah, I think Fire just looks more powerful than Water. Like, there's not really anything too exciting in there, so let's just rule out Water for now, and then let's build Earth Fire, and then we'll build Earth Air, and we'll see what we like. But yeah, having a Savior obviously is insane. The win rate so far on Savior isn't like actually busted, but if you know what you're doing, then it is. So I'll just give that caveat that I think if you're kind of new to the game, if you don't really know what you're doing, it might just be better to play Spellslinger, but I would still recommend just play Savior, try to figure it out. You'll learn some things by playing with these cool avatars. But if you're going into a big tournament and your only goal is to win, and you're just not really sure that you know what you're doing or that your deck is quite good enough for Savior, you don't know when to play things on curve and when to like wait and play them later on with a ward, then you might actually just have a better chance just playing Spellslinger and just playing a more regular game with not as many decisions. Okay, so this is the Earth pool, and that looks really nice. Like the curve here looks perfect. Really, I'm hoping to play these as 2-drops. I'm hoping to play these as 4-drops, but like really the 1-mana minions I can at least just move up to the 2 slot. I think that just makes sense. One-shot Wizard, not a huge fan of this one, but it's probably fine. And then Wild Fanatic is fantastic with Savior because you can play it, pay 1, put a ward on it, and then attack. He loses the ward, and then you pay 1 to ward it again. That is a cool thing that you can do. And then we got Flare, we got Redmane Hyena. Hyena looks like we got 2 demons in the deck. Even if it's not a demon, it's still probably just fine. And sometimes we can nab our opponent's demons with this because it sees both cemeteries. Yeah, I think this deck looks pretty reasonable. It has a bit more interaction now with the Gift, the Ignited, and the Trial by Fire. And then it just has like a pretty good curve. There's not anything exciting really other than like the Blade of Thorns. And honestly, like Revered Revenant, like that's kind of exciting to me. And then we just have like Beef, I guess, and kind of a low curve, which is really nice to have with Savior. Because then you're just able to ward more of your minions. Okay, so I would be happy with this deck. Well, actually, okay, 1, 2. Yeah, this is 22. So I'd be happy with this deck if it was just this. But we do have to add this Undesirables and this Torch and Pitchfork. I really don't like Torch and Pitchfork. Like, yeah, we probably have a lot of ordinaries in this deck, but it can't pump monks, so these don't actually count. Okay, so then we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus like a skeleton. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a lot, but I still just, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that Torch and Pitchfork is really worth playing unless you absolutely have to, but it's not the worst thing ever. Like, I am considering it. All right, so let's take these out. I'll put these with the fire cards, because if we are playing fire, that's pretty much the deck. And then we'll put the air cards in and see what that looks like. All right, let's try that. So yeah, this is a 2-drop. Witching Hour, Gift, Forsaken, Screamer, Broomstick, Bound Spirit, and then we got some expensive stuff here. Okay, this is 5, 8. This is 24. Yeah, I think this looks fine to me as well. I think they're pretty close, honestly. I do like the top end a lot. Yeah, so So yeah, let's compare the curve for a second. So we have more 4-drops, more 5-drops this way. And then what? There was only 1 3-mana minion, so this is the same curve as far as the 3-mana stuff, which is not great, to be honest. Like, only having 3 things in the 3-mana slot is kind of bad, but there are, like, things that obviously you can play from this pile that you can play on turn 3 with a ward, so that kind of makes up for it, I guess. All right, and then we had, yeah, I mean, the curve looks pretty similar. I like the beefy stuff. That's basically where I'm coming. I think that these decks are quite similar. They have a similar amount of interaction. Fire had a little bit more, and the minions looked about the same. I think we had kind of a lot of 2-drops in the Earth Fire version, so I think I like the Earth Air version just a little bit more. And then really the thing that's pushing it over the edge is that I have this Wuthering Heights. That is a big part of the decision here. And yeah, I think I would just go with that. Let's look at Hollow One for a minute, because I'm just kind of curious. So we have Mortal, Mortal, Mortal. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we got 8 Mortals in our whole deck. Yeah, I just don't think that is like reasonable to be able to set this up. So a Mortal or Beast has to die nearby. I think we have 0 Beasts. And then we have, yeah, whatever, like 9 Mortals or something, or 8 Mortals. Yeah, I don't love that. Obviously, you can kill your opponent's Mortal, but like having to depend on that is not a good idea. So, yeah, we're gonna go with this. Let's see, how many things can we ward? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That is plenty. Yeah. You really only need maybe half of your minions to be able to carry wards for you to play Savior. That's my opinion on it. And yeah, we have, so things that we can just always play on turn 2. We don't have to worry about the ward part of it. We have all of these. We have this and this. So all of these, we're just going to play on turn 2. So these are actually our 2-drops. These are the ones that we can play on turn 2 or on turn 3 optionally with a ward. That's just really cool. So these are 1-drops that you can play, add a ward to them. This just comes with the ward. These can't be warded. This can't be warded. So it's nice to look at your curve that way. Like, what are the things that I can just comfortably play on turn 2 and not have to think about it? Like, I think even if everything here could be warded and they were all 2-drops, you still just want to play something on turn 2. Like, you just want to get on the board. So don't overthink it and like just play completely off curve, especially if you're on the draw. Even if you're on the play, you should still just play a minion on turn 2. Otherwise, you will lose that tempo. You're not going to like completely run out of cards. Like, you'll be able to ward stuff later in the game. So yeah, just keep tapping your avatar to draw sites and play sites. Don't move it. Like, even if you want to, this deck really doesn't have a reason to have to move it other than like Bound Spirit. But yeah, I think you can just get by just tapping your avatar to draw and play sites, and then late in the game you'll be able to have 6 mana to like play this and ward it and double spell and be able to ward one of those minions or whatever. So yeah, that's what I think about Savior. You should just play to the late game. If you're playing against Necromancer, then good luck, because Necromancer is kind of a bad matchup. But yeah, I think that's what we're gonna build. And then let's look at the site. So I'm just gonna scoop these up. It looks pretty 50-50 to me. I could count all the thresholds, but it looks about the same. If I was building this for a real tournament, I would count all of the threshold and figure out, you know, should I be playing 6 and 6, or should I actually, you know, push toward one of the elements a little bit. All right, so let's just go through this. And we can talk about some of these sites. I can see some interesting conversations here that we can have. Okay. So I think first thing, should you splash a random site? And I think if it's Wuthering Heights level or River Rapids or something like that, then yes. If it's desert or worse, I think no. You just want to be playing your sites with threshold. It sucks that you have this desert that you can't play because you're Earth Air. You just need to have threshold on your sites, okay? So ignore all the sites that aren't in your threshold. And then I've seen people play desert. I've seen people play blooms that aren't in their threshold because they think like, oh, this fixes my threshold for a turn because it produces both. But like, that's not enough. Like this site, you're going to play it on turn 2 and that's going to be a blank site for the rest of the game. Like it's a terrible idea. So don't do that. These are not threshold fixing unless they're in your element like Autumn Bloom or Twilight Bloom. Obviously play those, but don't play the other ones. Yeah, nothing else really to say from that pile. Troubletown, same thing. I know that this gives you a minion, and it's kind of cool to have Savior and be able to play this and pay 2 mana to have a 2-power warded minion for free. You just want to have Threshold on your sites. Yeah, if in some crazy world that there's not double Threshold on a bunch of these cards, maybe, but yeah, it's like double Threshold, double Threshold, double, double, and that's it. Yeah, like that's way too many cards that are double Threshold for you to mess around and have this. Like if you draw this in your first 4 sites, you're kind of screwed. So yeah, don't play Troubletown unless you really have a good reason and you know what you're doing, then maybe, but I basically never play this card. Unless you're mono element, obviously then it's good, but you're not going to be mono element, especially in sealed. Maybe in draft in some crazy situation, you can maybe play some of those, but don't fall for that trap. Speaking of traps, Consecrated Ground. Evil has no power here. Okay. Let's see how many evil minions we have. We have 1. This makes skeletons, which are evil minions. We have Zombie Horde. Okay, what else do we got? We have Screamer. We have Forsaken. We have Static Servant. We have Noisome Twosome. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, really, Novice Necromancer, like, the Necromancer, probably not a big deal. Noisome Twosome, this you really do want to play on turn 2. This you want to play on your front row on turn, 3 or 4, probably, to kill a skeleton, maybe. Otherwise, just on turn 2. This probably also not a huge deal because you're going to play it probably on your opponent's side and be trying to attack their site with it. But sometimes you are going to want to play this defensively. And then we have Screamer, Zombie Horde, Vesper Swarm. And I guess Vesper Swarm you can kind of work around it. Zombie Horde and Screamer, though, these are a big deal as well. So there's a few minions here that it's going to be a huge deal if you really want to play them somewhere and there's a Consecrated Ground there. Honestly, I might consider Consecrated Ground in this deck. I was expecting to pick these up and be like, okay, we have way too many evil minions. But honestly, I have had Savior decks that I've had like 3 Consecrated Ground. I think I made a video of that maybe. And it was completely busted. So I think we're going to try it out. We're going to actually play Consecrated Ground. It is actually pretty crippling against some decks. But look out for when your turn 2 play is like a Noisome Twosome. Do you just want to not play this on the front row in that instance, probably, unless you have something else that you can play. But yeah, this is very good. 50% of minions are evil, so yeah. I think in sealed, probably people are going to be playing Earth more often than any other element, which does mean your opponent's going to have a bunch of non-evil minions. The thing that you're trying to avoid, though, is having evil minions in your deck, and then your opponent has non-evil minions, and they get to attack your Consecrated Ground, and you can't really defend with your evil minions because they'll have 0 power when they enter. So, yeah, that's the thing to watch out for, but maybe not a big deal in this deck specifically. Base of Babel, we don't have the Apex of Babel, but I believe there's nothing that punishes you for Base of Babel, so I guess I would play it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I guess so. Why not? I can't think of any reason not to. There might be. But this might like incentivize people to try to turn off this ability in case you have an Apex of Babel, and I guess that's good. The thing that you don't want, though, is for you to play this and them to think maybe he has an Apex, I need to end this game really fast, and then have them make all these attacks and like be super aggressive against you because you are trying to play a really defensive game. Maybe that is still in your advantage though, so yeah, I probably would just play it. I don't know. Obviously, it doesn't really make a difference because you don't have the Apex of Babel, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 2 sites we're not going to be able to play. I think Sports Bouts is an easy cut. I just don't like that card at all. And then a Cursed Tower turns off wards, including your own. So it can be awkward to play this card. So I would cut those 2. And yeah, I think that is going to be the deck. This is 6 and 6. So yeah, we built Earth Air as our first deck with Savior. Very powerful deck. And yeah, not much else to say about that one. I think we'll move on to the next deck now. Okay, we are back with the second pool that we opened. We got a Life Wish, fully heal each avatar. That is not playable. Torch and Pitchfork, like I said, not really something I want to play. Bullwhip and Meat Hook, I feel very similarly to Torch and Pitchfork. I don't really want to put those cards in my deck. People are really high on these two, and I don't really get it. I don't like equipment that your opponent can steal. Meat Hook has this setup cost. I don't know. I think Bullwhip is my favorite, followed by Meat Hook and then Torch and Pitchfork. But I'm going to put those to the side. Maybe we do end up playing them. Hema Golem, I've had good experiences with this so far. And I think it's worth playing. I mean, it's definitely worth playing. It's a 4-mana, 4-power minion. I think that the ability is more upside than downside if you're winning. And if you're losing, it is pretty huge downside. Because your opponent can just deal damage to the Hema Golem and you take damage. It's really not good. But I think it's definitely going to make the cut. If we have ways to ward it, it's really, really good. We have... Is that the only 2? Or there's actually one more, isn't there? Yeah, we have Molten Mar, Peculiar Port, and Forlorn Keep. That is really tempting. So I guess whatever element we end up in, because we're, you know... I mean, I guess we don't have an air one, we have a water one, but anyway. Yeah, let's just get into the deck build then. So let's see what we got here. This place is playable. Snallygaster's great. Let's just grab the 3-power minions then, I guess. So give us Night Gaunts is amazing. I'm going to take this Sphere of Animosity out. That is just not a playable card. Aether Amoeba is the same thing. It starts as a 3-mana 1-power minion. On turn like 5 or something, it's going to creep onto someone's site. But then they can start playing sites on top of the void that it occupies and shrinking it, and that's just really bad. So I think it's a fun card, obviously, but not good at all. Undead Ambush, I think is fine. I'm really not a big fan of it. Is that all the 3s? Oh, we have Jack the Ripper. So this is actually one I did need for my cube, which is really exciting. So Jack the Ripper, busted. There's tons of mortals in the set. Yeah, 3-mana 2-power stealth kill immortal is crazy good, obviously. So that's a bomb. I'm going to take Foul Bones out. Murder of Crows is excellent, excellent removal. I'm going to take Bone Spear out because we don't have a Necromancer. We have Bound Spirit. We have Plague Rat is fine sometimes. Static Servant, Those Who Linger is kind of slow, but definitely a playable card. So yeah, air looks pretty strong, I guess. We have that Jack the Ripper. We got Murder of Crows. We have some good 3-power minions. Yeah, nothing to complain about, really. Overflow, not a playable card. Let's take out the unplayable water cards. Lure, Sewer Rats, Baptize, Return to Nature. There's a Shoggoth and a Slug that I don't really love. There's a Dredge, which is kind of similar to these. I really don't like them. Mimic, I don't think is playable. Your opponent's just not going to have a carryable artifact very often. Okay, and then let's just see what is actually playable here. So we have Horrible Hybrids, Mesmer Demon as our 3-drops. That's kind of weak. Winter Nymph Survivor, Muddy Pigs as our 2-drops. Those are also pretty weak. So we've gotten Ice Shards, we have a Swap. Those are the 2 cards that I'm actually excited about in Water. So yeah, I think unfortunately we're not playing Water again. Let's set those aside for now. Maybe we have to come back to them and consider it, but I would hope not to. All right, we got some interaction. Fire, we got Ghostfire, Flame Strike, Gift of the Serpent. And then we got some unplayable cards here. Vandal, Imp, Profane Revenant, Detonate. Angry Mob is sometimes worth playing, especially in Sealed. It's probably playable in Sealed. Your opponent's just gonna have like 2 to 3 elites or uniques, probably. I guess probably maybe slightly less than 2 on average is my guess. All right, and then we got Fallen Angel, very powerful if you have demons. Even if you don't, it's just a good minion. Flare is a demon though, and we have Lesser Blood Demon as another one. So that is a nice little package. You really don't end up with that many demons, so you just take what you can get. Grief Larvae and Martyrs of Tomorrow are pretty bad. 3 mana, 2 power is obviously terrible, and the death rate just doesn't really happen very often. And trying to ward a minion when you're playing fire, you might just have no good targets for minions that can actually be warded. And it's like a trick that's on board. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of these bad cards that I always just kind of put to the side in my videos and just don't really talk about them. And I'm trying to explain them a little bit and why I don't want them in my deck. 1 power minions just die for no good reason and you lose a card. Like, just because it costs 1 mana doesn't mean it's worth less of a card than a Noxious Corpse or something else. Like, you have to spend an entire card for this. Like, you draw 1 card per turn, you're going to run out of cards if you play these understated minions. So just don't play these. This is often a 1 mana 0 power minion, so obviously that's just horrible. Lash, I think this should cost like 2 mana, or it should cost 3 mana and draw a card or a sight or something, but it deals 1 damage for 3 mana. So yeah, the board needs to just be like completely clear for you to ever do this. And the whole thing that people are doing in Limited is I play a minion in front of your minion or buy your minions so that I can defend my things with it. You're just not going to have those situations where you can attack, lash your minion to untap it, and then attack again. And even if you do, wouldn't you rather just play a minion instead of attacking again? Like, you're trying to get board state. Like, you're trying to overwhelm your opponent with minions that they can't deal with. So just lashing your minion is just really terrible. Detonate, if we do have multiple artifacts that we can carry, then maybe we could play a Detonate, but I really don't like it. I think Detonate's really good at Necromancer because you've got all these skeletons all over you can detonate. But outside of that, you should just not play that card, so that is why these cards are bad. So yeah, I think Fire looks like a reasonable option. We'll put the Angry Mob in there for now. I mean, Flame Strike is incredible. Gift of the Serpent has no downside. You know, it's just cycles and gives you a buff. I really like all those cards. Ghostfire is totally serviceable. So yeah, Fire looks fine to me. All right, we got another batch of just weak minions. Like, they have an effect that don't give you a full card worth of value, and they're 1 mana, 1 power minions. It's just not worth a card. All right, we got 3 mana, 3 power. That's a great card. All right, Landmass. I just don't think that ramp is really what you want to do. Like I said, you're trying to get board state, and that means not just sites on board, it means minions on board. And if you're doing this on turn 3 and your opponent plays a 3-drop, you need to take care of their 3-drop. Like, now you're on the back foot just because you played this landmass. So you need to have something like crazy to ramp into with this. That's just not happening. So this never gives you board state that you actually care about, which is minions on board or removing your opponent's minions. If you look at all the decks that I build here today, every single one of them will either put a minion on board or try to remove your opponent's minion, or, you know, maybe get you a bunch of card advantage or something. This doesn't do any of that stuff. Landmass, you shouldn't play in Limited. I understand it's good and constructed. It is not the same thing in Limited at all. We are very limited on the amount of cards that we can draw. The amount of power in our deck is low. You will eventually run out of cards, and this will be a reason that you run out of cards faster, because you took a turn off to do this instead of adding to the board or removing your opponent's board. So, okay, minions with stats. Obviously, that is the main thing that we're trying to accomplish in this game. So, 3 mana, 3 power minions. Let's see. We got some good ones. Intrepid Hero. We have Order of the White Wing, maybe the best 3 mana, 3 power minion in the whole format. That text about you can't summon things from outside of your hand is really relevant against Necromancer. Or, you know, maybe someone has a toolbox and they cast a minion or something. That doesn't really happen. It does shut off these sites, though, that cast a minion from your collection. Just an insane card. Obviously, just 3 mana, 3 power with a ward is great. And then we got some more beef here. We got one monk and one zombie horde. So the minions just look great. We don't have like any 2-drops though, so that's a little concerning. So we've got Barrow White. I like to, when I notice that kind of thing, just look at my other elements. So we've got Lesser Blood Demon, Noxious Corpse, Wild Fanatic here. So that's 3 2-drops in fire. In air, we have Static Servant, Forsaken, and that's it. So, I mean, slightly, you know, there's one more 2-drop here. Not a huge deal, but something to take account of. Then we have Buried Alive and Smite. Incredible, incredible cards. So some of the best ordinaries in the entire set are Buried Alive, Smite, Monks, Zombie Horde. Earth is just fantastic. All right, and then Bind Evil. We probably should play the Bind Evil. I think it is quite good. And we don't have Savior in our pool, so Revered Revenant just doesn't make the cut. That's just a hard and fast rule. You're just never going to have enough wards if you're not playing Savior to have a Revered Revenant in your deck. Mega Lurker. This is an underpowered minion. It's 7 mana for 6 power. Genesis, if an ally died last turn, Mega Lurker may drag the killer from an adjacent site to here. So you can actually cast this Burrowed. It has Burrowing. So you burrow it under your site, and then you say, I drag that thing on top of this site to below this site, because it doesn't actually target it. It does ignore regions. It just doesn't say ignore regions, which is really weird. I kind of wish they put that on there, but that is how this card works. So this is a removal spell late in the game. It just kind of sucks that, like, this is a 7 mana minion. When you get to 7 mana and you have this in hand, you're just going to want to play it. So if you're in a situation where they just happen to kill one of your minions and they're next to one of your land sites and you can play this Burrowed and kill it, that's cool. Otherwise, it's just like worse than a slug and harder to cast. So I'm not like a huge fan of this card, but it can actually swing the game. So I think it's definitely worth considering, but I might actually end up cutting it if I can manage to do so. Necropotence, I think this is another one. It pumps undead minions nearby the spellcaster, which the nearby part is really rough. But if you're a Necromancer, I would definitely consider it. It's even cuttable, I think, in Necromancer. If you're not playing Necromancer, this is just like Revered Revenant. If you're not playing Savior, you don't play this. If you're not playing Necromancer, you don't play this. But I think even when you're playing Necromancer, maybe you don't even play this card. So I think that's just a hard no. All right, I look at this pile and I say I am playing Earth. We've got all these beefy minions, all these good 3 powers. We got 4 power, a 5 power, and then we have good removal. Smite, Buried Alive, Bind Evil are all great. All right, so then we look at the other stuff. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's exactly half of our deck. We also have Hemogolem over here that we're definitely playing. So that's 13 cards. So we need to find 11 more cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I guess that is a consideration, but I was already kind of leaning toward fire because we have more 2-drops in this element, and Flame Strike is just kind of incredible. We already have some beef, I guess not as much beef as I would like in Earth. So, like, I kind of want Those Who Linger and the Bound Spirit, but I think it's going to be a bit hard to make that work. I guess we also have these air cards, but I don't really love Plague Rat because there's a lot of effects that can deal 1 damage, like Flare, like Desert, like Flame Strike, Ghost Fire. So I would like to not play Plague Rat. It's really good in Savior. Just keep note of that. This is a 2 mana, 1 power lethal minion with a ward. Lethal plus ward is just really obnoxious. And then we can play some of these cards. I think Detonate, there's no way that Detonate's going to make the cut at this point. I'm pretty sure we're Earth Fire. I think the 2 best decks in the format are Earth Air and Earth Fire, so we have a nice little pick of the litter here. I guess we also have Jack the Ripper in this, as well as Murder of Crows, which is like kind of as good, if not better, interaction than we have over here. I think you could go either way, but so I said we needed 11 more cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we would need to play like Undead Ambush, displace, bullwhip, or meat hook, like 2 of those cards. I'd really rather not have to make that decision. I don't really love all of these. I don't think we have enough like beefy minions for meat hook to be that good. I mean, it's probably fine. I think I would play bullwhip over it, and then I would play maybe displace. I think displace is actually pretty good as a way to move your minions around, or maybe mess with your opponent's artifacts. Steal an artifact, for example, you can do with that. I think I really don't like the curve, though, because we've got 1 2-drop. If we go Earth Air, we have 2 3 2-drops. I think 4 is really... I think like 5 or 6 is really where I want to be, and I think this gets us up to 5. It might only get us up to 4, honestly. 1 2 3. Huh. Yeah, I guess it's kind of pretty even. I think the air pile is actually more powerful. There's just less cards, which means we have to play slightly less powerful stuff as well. I was leaning toward Earthfire, but I think my final decision is going to be Earth Air. So let's lay these out. I think this is 24. Sometimes you just gotta lay them out to see what everything finally looks like. I think we've got a pretty good curve. We've got some really good removal options. We do have to play this Mega Lurker. I guess I'm fine with that. I'd rather play that than like a Torch and Pitchfork or a meat hook or something. I guess this would just be the beef pile. And then these are all 3s as well. So I do really like to have a lot of 3s. In the last deck, I think we only had like 3 or 4 3-drops. This one looks really nice. We got 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. This is 8 3-drops. That's like perfect, honestly. I think like 6 to 8 is really where you want to be. And then Jack the Ripper I put in the removal pile because obviously that's what you want to do with it. I would really like to just hold on to this, and having all these other 3-drops means I can just play these on turn 3 instead, and then play Jack the Ripper whenever it makes sense to do so. I think it's like quite a few, I don't know, there's at least like 30% of minions are mortals or something, right? It's got to be something like that, so definitely Jack the Ripper's gonna be insane, like incredible blowout. I've been thinking about this recently, and I think that one of the biggest determining factors of who wins the game, the first is probably who has Necromancer and who doesn't. But the second, like just talking about limited in general, is going to be who has 2 minions on board when your opponent has 0 minions on board. Or like if I have 3 minions on board and you have 1, for example. Like if I have 2 more minions than you, I'm probably just winning that game. Because even if it's like, I have two minions, you have 0, and it's your turn. Okay, you play 1 minion. I'm going to play a minion. I'm going to have 2 more than you again. So yeah, when you get to that point, it's just really easy to snowball. It's easy to be like, okay, I'm fine with just making this 1-to-1 trade because then I'll play another minion. I'll still be up by 2 cards. And Jack the Ripper is a way to do that. This is, even though it's just a 2-power minion, that still counts as a minion. Like, 2-power minion is way better than a 1-power minion. Like, they will rumble. You know, they will deal damage. They will go into a corner and deal some damage. They will allow you to double block. You know, this one even has stealth on it. So this is a way to kill your opponent's minion and add a minion to the board. That is a 2-card swing, and this is a way to just win the game out of nowhere sometimes. Like, early in the game, you know, I play 2-drop, you play 2-drop, I play 3-drop, you play 3-drop, and then I play Jack the Ripper. Now you have 1 minion on board, I have 3 minions on board. So now I'm just going to win this game probably. Yeah, I really, really like trying to get to that point. Which is part of why I'm starting to get a little bit higher on the 1-mana minions, because if I can go bury your 3-mana minion on turn 4 and then play a 2-power minion for 1 mana, that's actually going to be pretty good. So, okay. I guess I could have looked at the sights as well as a way to maybe shift my element into fire instead of air, but let's just see. So we would be getting a Molten Mar. And then not really excited about the, I mean, there's one bloom in each. There's a spore spouts. There's no reason to care about that. There's a leadworks. That's fine, but who cares? There's an open mausoleum. Okay, that's really nice for air. Cursed tower, I guess, is okay. We got mountain peaks. I like that. Yeah, so I feel pretty similarly about these pilot sites. Definitely Molten Mar is better than some of these other ones, but we're basically trading a Molten Mar for a Mountain Peaks and a Mausoleum. I think that's pretty reasonable to do. And then, yeah, we're getting the Jack the Ripper, which I think is a way to just win a game outright. Like, sometimes that will just snowball the game for you. Earth, air. All right, so we got one keep. Got Silent Hills, Hillside Chapel, Open Grave, Blessed Village, Autumn Bloom, Shallow Grave, Fertile Earth. All right, so that is more sites than we can play, most likely. I think this one I will count the pips real quick, because this one is looking like it might be a little bit swung in the other direction. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16. Yeah, so they're pretty close. I would just go 6 and 6. And wow, yeah, we have Fertile Earth and Mountain Peaks. That's fantastic. Wow, that feels really good. So we have a lot of double thresholds. We even have a triple threshold card. So Shallow Grave, we'll see if we actually need that card. We do, actually, because we have Murder of Crows. We can mill a Murder of Crows with our Shallow Grave. That would be pretty nice. But is that better than some of these other sites? We'll see. So we're going to have one Spire in this deck, and we're going to play all these other sites. That seems fine to me. And then Forlorn Keep, Fertile Earth definitely are getting played. Shallow Grave, I think, is getting played. Like, let's see, do we have any other combos? Or like reasons to mill cards. Oh, we did have a Barrow White, didn't we? Okay, we have Murder of Crows. Oh, maybe we didn't. Did we? Yeah, we do have a Barrow White. So if we have a skeleton, we can mill our Barrow White and be able to recast it. So I think 2 cards, definitely enough reason to play Shallow Grave over one of these. Open Grave just gives you a minion, so that's really powerful. And then Hillside Chapel gives you a ward, which is almost similar to giving you a minion, if you can trade your thing for theirs. Blessed Village and Autumn Bloom, I think, are not too exciting. I guess I'll use the Silent Hills, but I don't know. Anything that I really care about, the Silent Hills interacting with? I don't really think so, but I don't know. That'll be the decision there, but I think switching out Silent Hills for an Autumn Bloom is pretty reasonable. But yeah, that will be deck number 2. I'm pretty happy with that one. Yeah, we got a good interaction. We got a good curve. We have a couple junky cards in our deck. But I have been impressed with Bullwhip in a few games. Being able to like move around the board with your avatar and start whipping things is obviously quite good. But yeah, and Displace I think is fine. And I guess it is kind of insurance for your Bullwhip. If they do steal it from you and you're able to displace it and then pick it back up, I mean, that is a nice swing. All right, that is going to be deck 2. I think that one looks pretty nice. All right, we are back with another build. This must have been the first pool that we made. If you watched that video, oh my god, by the way, that box, can you believe that box? I did the math on the elites and the uniques and the foils and everything. It was like $480 worth of cards that we opened. And this was a part of it. This was like an $85 card or something like that. And then we had 2 unique foils and a elite foil. Insane box. Like, oh my god, I can't believe that box. Defiler Spire, I really am not a big fan of this in Limited, but we'll put the sites over here. I see a lot of water and air sites. And then we have a Forsaken Crypt. We have a Thin Ice, but there's not really too many ways to use Thin Ice in Limited. So yeah, sites not really anything too exciting. I guess Forsaken Crypt is the only card that I'm somewhat excited about. And then let me just show off, first of all, what this pool has in it. We've got Arjaro Exorcist, which is kind of like a Jack the Ripper for demons. And then we have Malakim, just a great card. Like, a warded airborne minion, you gotta be kidding. Like, that's incredible. And then we've got Archangel Samael, another warded airborne minion. Very powerful, but it is quadruple fire threshold, so you gotta watch out for that. All right, what have we got in water? Actually, not any bombs that I see in water. And then air, I really like Dreadwing. This is the first Dreadwing that we've seen so far this video. It's really excellent. You can just discard a sight to this, even discarding a real spell to this, or just taking the 4 damage is all reasonable options. And I don't think we've ever had a 5-mana 4-power airborne minion at Ordinary, so super powerful. Airborne's incredible. Like, it is slightly underpowered, obviously, but 4-power airborne is just like runs a game. All right, and then what is the bomb that we have in air? We have Ophanim. So we have a 4-power airborne ward minion in 3 of our 4 elements, and the one that we don't is actually the worst element. So this seal pool is going to be interesting. Let's start in air, because air is very powerful. We have a Dreadwing and Ophanim. That is some really good top end. We got Bound Spirit. What else we got for top end? Oh man, we got Archers. I'm pretty sure we're playing air. I can already tell you that. Ophanim, I think, is my favorite of the 6-mana 4-power airborne minions. Like, the movement +1 airborne ward is so powerful. Okay, other 3-drops. We got Snallygaster, another super powerful 3-drop. Okay, and then 2-drops, we got Willing Tribute, Broomstick Witch. Broomstick Witch works really well with the Bound Spirit, so that's really nice. We got Vampire Bats. Raise Militia is not a card I like. You know, we've played with Border Militia in beta. I'm not even a big fan of Border Militia, honestly, in Limited, but Raise Militia is much worse. Like, the fact that you can't block with your things, that's really what you want to do with 1-power minions, is like block to protect your really important minions. It's just not good enough. I think if you have like 2 Witching Hours or something, maybe you could play Raise Militia. I just don't believe in it. I guess something cool you could do is recast it with Skeleton Mage, but I think there's just better things to do. Like, this is 5 mana, make like, you know, some amount of 1-power minions. Like, this is also a 1-power minion. That's just not that exciting. You're not going to win games based on having a bunch of 1-power minions. That just doesn't really happen. Pith Imp, yeah, not a huge fan of that. What are the other bad ones? I think Novice Necromancer is significantly worse than just having a 2-mana 2-power minion. I am pretty much off of Novice Necromancer. I just don't want to play this card. We've got Static Servant, Gossamer Ghost as just better 2-drops. So we already have 5 2-drops, so that means we can easily cut this Novice Necromancer and Pith Imp. And then there's a Plague Rat, but like I said, I'm not a big fan of that card. And then these are just 1-power minions. Like, they're just not worth the card. I have lost to a Desecrator Kite off of a Spore Spouts, but that is like 1 out of the 200 games of Gothic that I've played. So otherwise, I've just been unimpressed by this card. And Foul Bones, even if I'm Necromancer, I don't think I really want to play Foul Bones. Like, the 1-mana 1-power airborne minion full stop as the baseline is so bad. Like, if I can mill this card, then I'm happy. Otherwise, I'm terribly unhappy drawing this ever. And reanimating a 1-power minion is not really exciting to me either. So, yeah, Foul Bones, not a big fan of that one. So yeah, these are the air cards that we're cutting outright. Skeleton Mage, maybe we can play it. So far, we have no ordinary magics in this pool. We have no magics at all. These are literally all minions. So yeah, I guess that makes me a little skeptical. Maybe we don't end up playing air because of that reason, but hopefully there's just enough interaction in earth or fire that we can just play that. Let's just look at water, but I'm pretty sure we're going to want the color that has multiple bombs in it. Yeah, I don't see anything like jumping out at me. You know, usually you should take your whole pool into account and not just build around your busted cards, but when a lot of the cards are kind of similar, like we just have 2-mana 2-power minions with slight upside, that doesn't really matter too much. You know, Mesmer Demon is something kind of special, and then it's like, okay, Noble Monitor is just basically just a 3-mana 3-power minion. Now, Wendigo is something kind of special, but if we're not Necromancer, maybe it doesn't even matter that much. But usually you can sack some 1-power minion somewhere that you get off of a site or something. to this, but yeah, I think already I'm off of water. All right, let's look for interaction first. So we know we have a bomb in both elements. So let's just look what element actually has interaction. Wild Fanatic I don't really count as interaction. Usually charged minions I do count, but 2 power is so much different than 3 power. I don't think you can really count it. Ignited is interaction. Ghostfire is good. We have an Angry Mob, I guess. I wouldn't really count that as interaction. Trial by Fire, definitely. Harpy and Urge, and then, ooh, there's a Zeppelin and Zealots also. That is kind of a bomb. But we're still a little light on interaction if we are in fire, but this is like 4 good interactive cards, I would say. So yeah, definitely a possibility that we play fire still. Let's take a look at Earth. If we just have like a Buried Alive and a Smite and one other piece of interaction or something like a Gift of the Wolf, then I'll probably just play this. But yeah, our Jar Exorcist counts as interaction, obviously, and then we've got Buried Alive, Smite, like I said, that's nice. And then Death Knight is a piece of interaction as well. And we even have, I guess, 1 Undead over here, and then I guess Skeleton Mage, but Skeleton Mage is kind of looking like it's not making the cut no matter what we're playing, because we just don't have that many ordinary magics that are going to make our deck reasonably. Yeah, so I think we got 2 really powerful options, and I think right away I feel like I want to build this 2 different ways and then decide. But actually, which are the 2 best elements to choose from? Or like, what is the 1 element that I want to for sure play? I guess it's kind of interesting that like this has Malakim and the Exorcist, and then this one has Samael and Zeppelin of Zealots, which obviously like this is an exceptional, but it feels like an elite or unique. Like it is very powerful. All right, let's just cut the bad cards out of each to make it a little bit more clear what's happening. I think One Shot Wizard is barely playable, so I guess I'll keep it. Vandal Imp, Profane Revenant, Enrage Familiar. There's some combos, like if you have Persecutor, if you have Mazuja Freet, then it's good, but otherwise it's not. Detonate, Martyrs of Tomorrow, Grief Larvae, we can cut all those. Accusation, I think if you're Persecutor, I still would not play this card. They reveal their hand, you get a card out of their hand. Like I said, I just want to be playing to the board, removing stuff from their board. This removes something from their hand, but they can still just cast something else from their hand. So you are going to be just behind on board if you play this and they play a minion. So yeah, not a big fan of Accusation. I guess it's slightly better in Sealed because people have bombs in their hand, but I still think that you're going to lose more games to just being behind on board than like being able to win a game by snagging their bomb, because they're still going to have something to play on their turn. Okay, so I think this looks pretty reasonable. I think our curve's going to be good no matter what, because we have all these 2-drops in air. Well, I guess that is a reason to play air, because I'm still trying to figure out if I'm doing that. I mean, really, yeah, I've got like 2 2-drops here. And then we got a couple 5-drops. I think our curve looks pretty decent if we're fire air, but not amazing. And then if we look at Earth... oh yeah, let's cut some bad cards again. We got Landmass, we got Revered Revenant. And we have Consecrate. Consecrate I haven't talked about yet. This turns one of your sites into a Consecrated Ground, so I guess if you're playing Savior, maybe you could play this, but again, this doesn't really affect the board. So you're going to play this, they're going to play a minion, and then you're going to lose the game. So probably don't ever play Consecrate, except for some crazy, weird Savior deck that is probably already a super good deck to begin with. Alright, so I guess let's put the minions in order and kind of remove the Exorcist, since it often is not played on curve. There's some Twosome Crawlers, Zombie Horde. We got Search Party, Barrow White. This is kind of interaction. 2-drop, 3-drop. Alright. Oops. So we got 3 2-drops, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, and then Death Knight. We got 2 undead here, 1 undead. That's 3, 4 undead. That's not bad. We would have like 5 if we're playing Earth Air. We would have, I guess there's technically 1 or 2 in here. This goes back here. Oh man, this is gonna be a hard pull. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, this is gonna be a difficult pool to build. This has the least amount of cards and one-shot wizard, which I would like to not play. 7, 8, 9, so this is 10 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, but I think really 11. I think Skeleton Mage isn't gonna be played. I didn't mention the artifacts, but we have Wiccan Tools, which I don't really know. I guess maybe in this deck you want Wiccan Tools because we got quadruple threshold, triple threshold, and then there's a triple threshold card in here as well, but I'd rather just play minions and not play crappy artifacts. Bullwhip. Yeah, I think part of the reason I'm not a huge fan of these, but I am a fan of cards like Blade of Thorns, is that Blade of Thorns feels like you're adding a minion to the board. This, if you play it and like remove a ward or something, it's like you're not really adding to the board in a meaningful way or removing from their board in a meaningful way. So this is another card that if you play this and then they play even a 3-mana, 3-power minion, you're just going to be behind on board. It's just so expensive. If it was like 2 mana, I could see it. But I think in some decks, it is going to be fine. It's going to have some spots where it's really good, but I'm not jumping out of my seat for it. I think we can cut that. I don't think any of those artifacts are going to see any play. I think fire, unfortunately, might be the worst, but I guess it does have interaction. So we could play like Earth Fire and have the most amount of interaction. Let's see what that looks like. I think I really do want to play Earth. I think that's the one that I'm kind of leaning toward the most because of the Exorcist and because of the Death Knight. Those are just really good pieces of removal, ways to do some tricky things. Harpian Urge, I think, fits pretty well in this package. We've got some beefy minions to use. And then we got Ghostfire. And we got Archangel, Zeppelin of Zealots, Angry Mob. Maybe we do end up playing. And then, yeah, this looks pretty nice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, this is 22. This is the deck that has the most interaction, and it has a good curve. We got 4 2-drops. That's acceptable. We've got 5 3-drops. I'm happy with that. And then, yeah, we got some bombs and just removal to make it so that we can interact with our opponent and be able to play our bombs. Like, that's pretty important. So, yeah, but this is 22 cards, so I guess I would just play these 2. Kisser of Wounds, another good 2-drop. Maybe not good, but it's a fine 2-drop, I guess. Virgin and Prayer, I kind of assume that that's a piece of interaction. Like, you can just play this as a 2-mana, 1-power minion and ward itself, but you don't really want to do that. Yeah, I feel pretty okay about that. I think really just the amount of removal in this element pairing is really nice, and there's just no removal at all in this one, so that makes sense. Yeah, kind of sad to not be playing the Ophanim. I think that's the best bomb that we opened, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's going to be reasonable. I think you could have built this way 3 different ways with these 3 elements and be kind of happy with your deck no matter what you did. But this is where I ended up. And that does mean we don't play the Forsaken Crypt, but I don't think that's enough reason to go into air. Defiler Spire, I already wasn't really a huge fan of anyway. As for Earth Fire, so we have a desert, we have a bloom, we've got open grave, we've got a river of blood. I guess that means our Kisser of Wounds might only heal 1, but I think that's still perfectly fine. Yeah, no other healing, so I think we will play it. Ursat's Plots, this isn't a site without any elements, so you just don't want to be playing it. Enough said. You also just don't have exceptional sites that you really want to be playing like this. No Man's Land. Players can't summon here or 1 step in front. I guess since we're trying to play kind of a slow deck and play our bombs, that is probably a reasonable thing to be playing. So I guess we'll include it. Alright, so we really didn't open many sites in these elements. If we did play air, I suppose we would get a few good sites, but yeah, I don't think anything that would really sway me to play air. I mean, like I said, they're all pretty reasonable options. This is just what I ended up with, and yeah, not too much else to say. I would just play 6 and 6. We have quadruple threshold, triple threshold. We just want to have 6 and 6. It would be nice to have some kind of fixing sites or something, but I don't think it's worth playing a Wiccan Tools just in case you draw your bomb and you can't cast it. So yeah, that is where we ended up. I guess maybe it is worth playing Wiccan Tools over one of these two cards. They are pretty bad. Yeah, maybe I'll put Wiccan Tools in instead of this Virgin and Prayer, because it is really nice to be able to cast your bomb. And we can just hold it in hand until we happen to have 2 mana at some point, but honestly, you are just going to be using your mana every single turn, and you won't have like a really easy window to put this in play. But yeah, it could happen. You could also get blown out by swap or displace with it. So, but anyway, that is the deck. I like that a lot. It's got some bombs. It's got some 2-for-1s. Yeah, really excited about that one. I think that is very powerful. Archangel Samael, Zeppelin, and Malakim. Like, what a lineup. Yep, that one is going to be very good. Moving on to the next deck. All right, we are back for another sealed pool. Just to take stock of what we've done so far, we have an Earth Air Savior deck. We have an Earth Air kind of mediocre deck, nothing special in this one. And then we've got this Earth Fire, like bunch of bombs kind of deck. Bombs and removal, basically. All right, and then this next one, check it out. We got a Key to the City. I would say that this is an okay card. I don't think that I'm for sure going to play it, but I'm not for sure not going to play it. I think it is definitely reasonable. If you play it on turn 1 and you play a 3-drop on turn 2, it's going to be very powerful. Just can you take advantage of that momentum and actually finish the game because of it before you run out of cards? Because obviously this is a card that you're giving up in order to get some tempo. I don't think the Bear Ignores Sight abilities really matters at all. All right, and then multi-element cards, we have Double Onslaught. Very excited about that. That is a very good card. It doesn't necessarily add or remove minions from the board, but it definitely can. You can just play a 3-power minion and then play this if you have enough mana and be able to kind of blow out your opponent. You can play it as a combat trick on multiple minions. So yeah, I think playing 1 is probably good, but there's a chance that we will play 2 if we need playables, basically. Invigorate, I think, is okay. It's a combat trick. Earth Water is the slowest deck and can take advantage of the fact that you heal 3 life. Definitely, you know, it can kill your opponent's minion, but just compare this to Gift of the Wolf. Gift of the Wolf is +2 power and it draws you a spell. So it's baseline always a 1-for-1 because you draw a spell off of it, but often it's a 2-for-1. This one, at best, is a 1-for-1 that gains you a little bit of life. So yeah, it's a playable card, but not amazing. Fatality is really for Necromancer or decks that just happen to have other ways to deal 1 damage, but mostly Necromancer because you attack something with a skeleton and then you use Fatality to kill it. So basically, I'm cutting this already. I just don't want to play Fatality in this deck unless something really weird happens, but I can't even imagine a scenario where I have enough ways to deal 1 damage for free. Like if we just have like a bunch of deserts or something, but there's only 1 vast desert in this set, so you're just not going to have enough deserts for that. Apply Alcahest looks like an unplayable card, but if you consider the fact that you could play a Bloom and then cast it, then it is not unplayable. But we have 0 blooms in our pool somehow, so I guess we are not playing Apply Alcahest either, so we can just cut that one. Technically, we have 2 Wiccan Tools, but we're not playing 2 Wiccan Tools and Apply Alcahest. Like, that's not that's not a real thing to go for. You have to draw both of them. So yeah, we have some good multi-element stuff. We have a Key to the City to potentially consider. And then for sites, we have River Rapids. We're going to play this no matter what, basically. Unless we have, like, a pool like this where we have, like, triple threshold in both elements or something. We're just going to make room for a River Rapids even if we're not playing water. And the rest of our sites look kind of bad. There's a Road to Perdition, which is good. There's a Den of Evil, which is kind of good. So yeah, other than having this River Rapids, I don't really need to think about the sites very much. Let's dig into what else we have. So we've got Screamer. We've got the cards that I've already talked about that I'm just going to cut. Pith Imp, I guess, is cute with 2 Wiccan Tools, but I just don't want Wiccan Tools in my deck to begin with. We have Raise Militia again. And then there's Desecrate. Desecrate's one that I'm a little bit interested in. I've tried it out before and it's been cool in some decks, but mostly not good, so I will cut it. It is just a damage card, which we don't really love. Jailstrom. Banish all nearby spirits and auras, draw a spell for each. This is not a playable card in Limited. It's not playable in Constructed. I don't know what this card is for, but maybe someday we will figure it out, but not today. All right, so what else do we got? Let's just look at the other 3 power minions. We have Snallygaster, Screamer. These are maybe the 2 best ordinary 3 power minions. They're just excellent. We got 2 Bladder Blimps, so that kind of pushes us in an aggressive direction, because if your opponent does just untap and kill it, that's pretty bad for you, but at least you get some damage in. So if you're into that kind of thing, then it's definitely a good card. We're going to play it no matter what, though. And then we got some good 2-drops. We got 2 Vampire Bats. Those are obviously excellent. And then there's a Plague Rat. This is kind of the leftovers that are somewhat playable and will fill in the deck if we need them, but we will just put them to the side. I think these 2 movement effects are both like pretty even to me. If we have some ways to like discard or mill a Second Wind, then I would prefer Second Wind. I think most of the time I prefer Second Wind, but Displace is good against artifacts, and sometimes people do play artifacts, so Displace might be better, but obviously it's harder to cast. But honestly, by the time you want to cast Displace, it's probably pretty late in the game and you don't have to worry about the 2 threshold. So I guess I would put Displace over Second Wind. I think that's been something I've been kind of debating about for a while. If you have a way to mill yourself, which there's not really many, then Second Wind is probably better. All right. Anyway, we'll move on from that conversation, but those are the kind of extras. So air's looking a bit shallow here, but we have some other stuff we can fill in if we need to. All right, we've got a Moss Troll, which is a very good 3-mana minion, and no other 3-mana minions? Wow, that's crazy. All right, Lure. Your opponent takes a step. That's way worse than you taking a step. And Second Wind, you can cast from your cemetery. What is Lure doing? I don't really know. I guess if you have Thin Ice, maybe you could play it, but I don't think we have one of those. So yeah, Lure, not a playable card. Slug is kind of in the same realm as these that are kind of filler cards. Slimy Mutants is actually good, like playable enough. 5 mana, 4 power is pretty decent. Second Slug. And then I think we have multiple Drowned in here. We got 2 Drowned. Looks like we have 2 Survivors. I think Drowned and Entombed, I have come around to the fact that I don't think they're very good. Yeah, the ones that enter Submerged or Burrowed. But if you can like double spell at some point and play a regular 2-mana minion and a Drowned, and that is the way that you're getting like more minions on board than your opponent, then it's going to be good in those spots. But yeah, they're very slow. So I haven't quite cracked that yet, but I think that they are cuttable minions. I think I would keep them in over a Survivor and like most of the 2-mana 2-power minions. So I guess they're fine. I don't know. Kind of a hard one to crack, honestly, but you shouldn't be super excited about Drowned or Entombed is basically what I'm saying. Monstermorphosis. I mean, we do have 2 Slugs, but maybe it's actually playable with 2 Slugs? Am I crazy for thinking that? Maybe. Sewer Rats. This is a 1-mana 1-power minion. That's all you need to know about it. It's not a playable card. There's another Lure in here. There's a 1-mana 2-power minion and a Sea Witch. Those are like all the 2-drops in water are just so replaceable. I'm not excited about any of them. Weathered Trunks is good. So water just has all minions, no interaction. I'm not excited about any of the minions. I guess I should talk about Instigator Imp. I think that this is playable but I'm not excited about it. I will play one in most water decks that lack interaction. Like if I am playing water in this pool, I will definitely play it because we have no other removal basically. I think I might actually play Monster Morphosis if we did build this and include 2 slugs. But if I had the option to cut 3 cards, I would definitely just cut all of these. But sometimes you just need playable cards, and I guess this is fine. Like, but Monster Morphosis is very bad. Like, you point this at your own minion, and then that minion becomes a slug from your hand. That means you lost the minion on board, you lost the Monster Morphosis, you lost the card in hand in the slug, and you get 1 big minion. So you get to 3 for 1 yourself. And your opponent could just kill your minion that you cast Monster Morphosis on. So super cool thing that you can do, but also very bad as far as card advantage goes. But obviously the tempo you get from it, if you do get to do this on like turn 3, is crazy. I don't think it's really realistic though. So I guess I'll put these in a pile down here, but I'm just gonna collapse the water pile. It's not gonna be good, unfortunately, but we're still gonna play this River Rapids, so we'll make that work. All right, let's look at interaction first from fire. We've got a Trial by Fire, we have a Ghost Fire, Gift of the Serpent kind of counts. We got 2 Wreath of Righteousness, that's kind of cool. All right, so put that in the interaction pile, all of those. Let's grab 3 power minions. I'm kind of just doing this in the order that they show up in my hands. I'm not really looking at anything in a really specific order, but Barging Barghest is just the Snallygaster for fire. It's obviously excellent. It even has Voidwalk. And then Slobbermaw is good even if you're not Necromancer. Like, you don't want to be sacking a minion to this, but you know, maybe you have a Virgin in Prayer and you can sacrifice the Virgin in Prayer, or you can just take the 4 damage. It's not a big deal. Grief Larvae, Enraged Familiar, Angry Mob is maybe playable. Detonate, Enraged Familiar, Granary Rat. Hemogoblin is just a 2-mana 2-power minion. You can just ignore the text on it. It's just hard to cast. It's not very good. I would prefer basically any other 2-mana 2-power minion over it. Alright, I guess we'll look at the removal from Earth next. We've got Buried Alive, Buried Alive. We have Gift of the Wolf. Yeah, there's some good stuff there. Okay, and then we got some beefy stuff. We got Monks. We got Zombie Horde. We got Zombie Bruiser. Wow, that's all good stuff. All right, let's look at the 3-drops. We got Search Party, Night Watchman, Crawler, Kroll Morlocks. Just a lot of beefy stuff. Like, oh man, I'm in love with Earth already. And then we got some 2-power minions and some bad stuff. I'm just gonna cut these cards. We've got Undesirables. I'm not a big fan of it, but maybe Town Priest I have come around on. I do think Town Priest is playable. Virgin Prayer is kind of in the pile with Undesirables, and then Peace Offering, 1 mana 0 power. When it enters another player's site, you give them the Peace Offering, which means they gain control of this, and then they move it back onto your site later, but when you do that, they can't attack you on their next turn, which is not really great. So I think you can just ignore that card. It is just a terrible unique. I don't know. It's really cool flavor, I guess. All right, I'm gonna get rid of the Wiccan Tools, and then I think Earth is my favorite here. We just have 2 4-power minions, a 5-power minion. We got a bunch of 3-power minions. We have some 2 powers. So looking promising to just choose Earth once again as one of our elements. And then Air is pretty shallow. Doesn't really have any removal. It's got fine minions. Like I like these minions and everything, but I think Fire is just looking a little bit more enticing to me. So Hemogoblin. All right, yeah, let's just lay these out. See what we end up with here. And then we can also play these 2 Onslaughts. So that is a nice little bonus. Okay. Let's try to make this not too messy. Yeah, let's put this over here. Yeah, let's just get rid of all these air cards because I'm pretty sure we're gonna lock in Earthfire here in a minute. All right. Yeah, that looks really nice to me. Okay. And then we got Gift of the Wolf, 2 Buried Alive. All right. All right, this looks like a pool that will probably end up cutting some cards. Let's see. 4. This is 26 cards. I think the cards on my cutting list are Angry Mob, Hemogoblin, Townsfolk, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Got 11 cards down here. That is too much. So I would say Onslaught is especially bad when you don't have a ton of minions. So if we're going to play a deck that has a lot of non-minion cards, we definitely don't want 2 Onslaughts. So I think we cut at least 1 of those. I like all of the hard removal. I think Wreathed in Righteousness is a little weird because it only deals 2 damage. So I think one of them is actually potentially cuttable. I think Ghostfire is a very cuttable card though. We dropped a second undesirable, so I guess we have that. And then do we want Key to the City? Well, I think our curve looks reasonable right now. Yeah, this is 24. Yeah, if we had to play like 2 undesirables or something, maybe I'd be a little bit more interested in Key to the City. But yeah, I think we're not gonna play Key to the City, unfortunately. I think obviously it's a cool card. It can do some cool things, but a lot of the time, like most of the time, you're gonna draw it when you already have a bunch of sites in play, and then it's just gonna be kind of a dead draw. So yeah, we're pretty much just playing all cards that affect the board in some way. The one that is closest to not is like Onslaught and Gift of the Serpent, and then like Town Priest is gonna be dead sometimes. But yeah, everything else is just minions or ways to remove minions or something like that. So yeah, pretty happy with that one. I guess like Gift of the Serpent is also one that, you know, you have to trade a minion plus this sometimes to get their minion. So you can actually get behind on board by using things like Gift of the Serpent. All right, and then we're definitely playing this River Rapids, which means that we should definitely count our threshold and see what do we have more of. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So that means that we want more earth than fire. So we'll cut 1 fire site to make room for this River Rapids. That's going to be worth it. River Rapids is so powerful. Leadworks, and then Road to Perdition. That's it. We have no earth sites to put in. So yeah, our Atlas is a bit weak for sure, but I think this will work out just fine. I think that this deck has good suite of removal, some good beefy minions, a lot of 3s. I think this is a bit of a mediocre deck. I think that the games that we draw River Rapids will be able to take advantage of that, and that's very powerful, especially with 4 and 5 power minions. If we get lucky with Angry Mob, or if we get to bounce something big with Town Priest, I think that's a way to win the game. Onslaught, if we get like 6 mana and play a 3 power minion plus Onslaught, that's very good, or even a 2 power minion plus Onslaught. I mean, I guess the Townsfolk is especially good with Onslaught for that reason. But yeah, we ended up cutting 1 Onslaught because we just don't want to have too many magics, because Onslaught is dead if you don't have minions to go with it. So you just don't want to have some of these dead cards potentially. And yeah, I think I'm reasonably happy with this deck. I think this is another one that I would put in like the not too exciting camp. But we have, you know, a couple of cards that can snowball a game, River Rapids being kind of the main one, or a very lucky Angry Mob kind of situation. But yeah, I think it's fine, and you will probably just lose some games to getting 2 for 1, or your opponent playing a big bomb, but that is just how it goes sometimes. So that means that we are at 2 Earth Fire decks, 2 Earth Air decks. All right, guys, we have another bomby pool here. So let's take a look. And I know that you guys are wondering, am I going to play Earth this time? Because I've played Earth every single time so far. Am I going to play Water since I've not played Water a single time? Well, I think I might have some good news for you, which is that I think the Water pool looks very strong. Let's take a look at that first, because I'm pretty curious. Ice Shards, Weather Trunks, I mean, not too excited about that one, but worth noting it. And then Heretics of Seth, Order of the Sacred Oak, Estranged Loner, Call of the Sea, Gloam Toads. So yeah, we got some really powerful stuff in Water. Call of the Sea obviously just can completely overrun your opponent, like totally swing a game in your favor. Gloam Toad's a great way to just slow down your opponent. If you have some way to like force move your opponent, which, you know, there's not many good ways to do that really in this set. But even if you're not, it's just an incredibly good defensive minion. They have to deal with it in some way, and you're going to be happy with the result, I would hope. Pretty hard to deal with, so yeah. And just play it on a water site so your opponent can't bury it, but they'll probably be able to smite it or do something else to it to kill it, a Gift of the Serpent or something like that, but pretty hard to line up a way to actually kill a Gloam Toads in Limited. All right, if we look at air, we see a lot of good 2-drops. We see a Dreadwing. We got a Murder of Crows second Dreadwing. Order, I don't really care about that one. So air looks reasonable, and the pile is quite big. I think this is by far the biggest pile that we have. I should probably mention the cards that everyone's probably looking at, which is Char Omphalos. This is the air fire spellcaster Omphalos. I am not a huge fan of Omphalos in Limited. I have been able to kill my opponent who has an Omphalos on board way too many times. You know, a 24-card spellbook is pretty risky to have an Omphalos in. The really cool thing that I've seen recently is the suggestion that you should play Omphalos and then just put like 10 extra sites in your deck so that, you know, you can eventually do the math and be like, okay, I should stop drawing spells. I'll just draw sites for the rest of the game. And eventually, you know, 10 turns from now or something, Omphalos will kill me, but hopefully I can kill my opponent before that happens. Because this will eventually draw all of your spells, and then when it triggers to draw a spell and you don't have any spells in your spell book, you will lose the game from this. But having sites makes it so that you have an alternate option to draw from, at least for turn. You know, this will eventually kill you because of your spell book, obviously, but yeah, so I'm interested in it. I would be willing to try it out and try that technique and just put a bunch of sites in your deck. But when our water pool looks this good, I mean, if you're not literally air fire or mono air, I think this is not good enough. If it's only drawing a spell about 50% of the time, that's just no good. Like 4 mana draw spell maybe is way too slow. So not a huge fan of that one, but I actually needed this for my cube. So this is, I think, one of the 2 cards that I opened in that box that is actually, I'm really excited about because I can put this in my cube finally. Mountesar Sanctuary, also very powerful and limited. I mean, either it matters or it doesn't, but when it does matter, like, they need an additional attacker or an additional death blow in order to knock that ward off, so that's really good. And then anything else interesting in the site pile? Not really. There's a Deep Sea, which is a little bit exciting because, you know, Gloam Toad and Call of the Sea. Call of the Sea's triple threshold. So yeah, this is a very powerful pool. We also have Silver Bullet and Toolbox. And yeah, I'm interested in that, but we'll see. I think I'm not usually a fan of Toolbox in Draft. It's been a while since I built a sealed deck. I think Toolbox is probably going to be pretty good in sealed. And same for Silver Bullet. Kind of funny that Silver Bullet can cast Toolbox, can't it? I guess you could do that. You could just have Silver Bullet in your deck, and then if you need an ordinary instead of an exceptional, you could just cast Toolbox and then cast the ordinary you want, but adding 4 extra mana to an ordinary, probably not a great idea. But all right, so we'll put those to the side. I guess I'll make a pile of those 2 and Holy Water. Actually, Holy Water we haven't seen yet. That is a very good card. It is a removal a lot of the time. It's a good way to kill a Gloamtoad, for example, or a Dreadwing. So yeah, very interested in Holy Water. I guess I'll put Wiccan Tools here just in case we need a playable. This is my next pool. I'll put that to the side. Follows, pretty sure we're not playing that, but I guess I'll put it in this pile for now, just in case something weird happens and we actually end up playing Fire Air, but I kind of doubt it. All right, let's look at the bombs and the other elements. We got a Flame Strike, a Searing Truth, 2 Hot Wheels. Pretty happy with those. There's a Flare as well. Yeah, this looks like a pretty good pool, honestly. And then Earth, very small pool this time. I think this is the deck that we're not playing Earth. We got a Monk and a Gift. And that's kind of all that I'm excited about. Yeah, we're not playing Earth. So let's put that to the side. Also our Montusar Sanctuary, I'm just going to put right there because we're just not going to be playing it. All right, let's take a look. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're playing water. I guess I'll cut out the bad cards from this pile and just see what we're working with. Okay, most of the stuff is pretty good. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, let's cut out the water, bad stuff. Freeze, Baptize. Honestly, Trial by Water is pretty much a card you shouldn't play. Wave of Eviction, because Trial by Water, you know, obviously you compare it to Berry, and it's much worse because, you know, only 25% of sites are water. Often this card just is not removal. You just can't cast it. You can't cast it when you're ahead because you're all over your opponent's sites. And water is the least played element in Sealed. Specifically, I think Trial by Water is very, very bad in Sealed. You know, if you're playing with people who know what they're doing, they won't be playing water most of the time. So you should ignore that card probably, but I guess I'll keep it in the pool just in case we need it, but I would really hope not to play it. All right, so air and, I mean, water is powerful, air is really deep, fire is reasonable. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, this is a pretty deep pile of good cards as well. And yeah, we'll see about this whole Silver Bullet toolbox situation. Yeah, let's just lay out the water cards first and just see what we're working with. So yeah, let's see what our curve looks like. But yeah, there's some really good, powerful cards. We even got the removal spell in water. That's pretty cool. Slimy Mutants, I guess. We have a Croaking Swamp in here. That is a real decision. Yeah, Slimy Mutants, so much better if you can get a frog, but I guess we do have 2 Gift of the Frog, but that's a lot harder to set up, but I guess I'll put those down. Sea Witch can also technically turn into a Slimy Mutant, as well as a Drowned, so that is a thing you could do. Instigator Ramp I'll put down here for now. I think I'll just cut the Trial by Water. I don't think that's happening. And Feigned Death, we do have an Estranged Loner. I think just having one of those is enough reason to play the Feigned Death. Just 3 mana, 3 power, give something stealth, draw a spell. That's busted. Like, that is beyond busted. So, yeah, pretty happy to have that. Yeah, I think we're just going to play water, air. Like, air, there's so many cards here. We're just going to find plenty of stuff, and it's going to be great. And there is a zap for our toolbox. So I guess I am probably playing this toolbox. Like, just got to be honest about that one. Yeah, I think that's probably going to happen. The only question is, do we Silver Bullet for toolbox for zap, which is actually totally reasonable because, you know, you're going to win the game when you do that. So who cares that it costs 5 mana to zap your opponent? Second Wind, Bone Spear. All right, Vampire Bat, Ghost. Broomstick Witch, Willing Tribute. Don't like these ones. Cool, Murder Crows. It's so important to have a Murder Crows. Such a good card. Okay, order Kiss of Death. I don't really like Kiss of Death. Yeah, this is one that's probably a little bit confusing too. You can only cast it with spirits and undead or your avatar, but being able to move your small minion on top of their big minion and them not being able to intercept, so they have to be tapped. So they have to leave a tapped big minion next to your small untapped minion. I don't know, it's just so hard to set up. So yeah, I really don't like Kiss of Death, but I guess we could put it in our Silver Bullet pile. Bitter Departed, that's a solid one. Carrying Net, yeah, we don't have anything really good to get back with that from a cemetery, so I guess that's another Silver Bullet thing. If our opponent has a zombie horde or something, I guess we could pay 5 mana to cast a zombie horde, and I guess that's not too bad. Bone Jumble, Hauntless Head. Hauntless Head's just worse than if it didn't have all this text. If it was just 1 mana, 2 power, I think that would be better. Alright, so this is a pile. Alright, what do we got going on here? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This is 24 right now? Okay. Alright, so yeah, this is where it gets kind of complicated because now I have to figure out... Alright, I think I'm cutting a Gift of the Frog. I'm not a big fan of Gift of the Frog, unfortunately. Like, it just... You know, a 0 power minion is not a minion, so you're not adding to the board. You're really just cycling a card and maybe protecting a minion for a little bit, but yeah, there's just better things to do than this. So I think my question is, do I play Toolbox and Silver Bullet, or do I just play Silver Bullet? If I go like this and I take out Gift of the Frog. Alright, this Omphalos is not being played. And then, do we have blooms as well? Okay, so we are water and air. We have a water bloom. We only have 1 bloom, but it could be relevant. It's probably not relevant, but... Oh, shoot. We also have holy water. All right. Holy water is very good. I think with this much interaction, we can probably just cut Instigator Imp. So 3, 6, 7. All right. So here's the decision about the toolbox. So toolbox is looking excellent. So cards that I could actually see casting. Freeze for sure. Baptize probably not. Trial by Water for sure. Bone Spear, Raise Militia, I guess I could imagine a situation where that would be good. Displace, yeah, we could steal our opponent's artifact or something with it. Zap, absolutely. That's probably what we're going to be casting from our toolbox most of the time, but then we just have all these other options, which is nice. Second Wind is a nice way to like get a piece of removal in here, kind of, and then it even puts something in your cemetery, which is nice. Plague Rat, probably not playing that one. Like, just playing minions from toolbox is pretty weak. Gift of the Frog, I doubt. Wiccan Tools, I also doubt we're ever playing that. But Instigator Imp, excellent, excellent card to have in the toolbox. So I think it's really like we're looking at, I would say mostly like these 4 cards. If you look at these 4, these are some really powerful options to have in a toolbox. So yeah, toolbox is looking really, really excellent. We even have 1 bloom, so I guess I'll just show the cool things that we can do. If we play a bloom and crack our toolbox on the same turn, then we might be able to do some other stuff. I honestly don't really see anything, like Virgin and Prayer, I guess, or just like a minion. So really the bloom isn't pulling much weight. Okay, and then these are the exceptionals that we can get with our Silver Bullet. Do you see anything in here that's really like situationally great? Like Carrying Net is the closest to it, but you cannot really count on that. So yeah, Silver Bullet I think is probably just not playable in limited. So let's just cut that one. Oh, I guess we do have these fire cards. If we play a bloom, we could play a Ravenous Werewolf. That's pretty good. I guess that's it. Oh, a Hot Wheel as well. A Hot Wheel off of a Silver Bullet, I guess, would be fine, but we also need to play a bloom and Silver Bullet and then be able to cast Hot Wheel and have it matter. So yeah, that's not really happening. So we do need to find 1 replacement card for that. So we do have 2 Gift of the Frog. I guess I could just put one of these here. Otherwise a second wind. I think actually probably a second wind is going to be better. It's nice to have a movement effect in there, and I think we have another one for our toolbox anyway. So yeah, if we can wrap this up, that is the water air deck. And then we have Bloom, Deep Sea, Spore Spouts, and that's it. Okay, so our Atlas doesn't look great, but at least we have a Deep Sea to help with our water threshold. Yeah, this deck looks pretty good. I mean, honestly, I think that this deck is maybe the weakest that we've built so far. I mean, there was a couple that were like a little bit unexciting that we looked at before, but definitely the Savior deck, definitely the one that had like the multiple warded airborne bombs is going to be better than this one. These two decks I feel like are pretty on par with this. This one does have Call to Sea, so the games that we can draw and cast Call to Sea to kill 2 or 3 minions, it's going to be crazy. Gloomtoad is going to be really powerful. Dreadwing's really powerful. And then we got some really good 3-drops. We've got, you know, just fine other stuff. Toolbox is going to be really powerful. Holy Water is really, really good. Like, there's a lot of evil minions, so paying 2 mana to banish an evil minion is obviously busted, and maybe you can play that and then play a 2-drop, and then you're ahead on board. Murder of Crows is a really nice piece of utility, but I've just found that water air decks are kind of bad. I think it's one of the worst element pairings, but this is definitely a situation. Even though I'm saying that, I'm for sure putting this deck together. This is what I'm sleeving up at a big limited championship if this is my pool. So yeah, don't shy away from water. When it looks really powerful, then it is very powerful. So yeah, keep an eye out for situations like this where you absolutely should be playing water. So yeah, first water deck, it is water air. So that puts us at 2 earth air, 2 earth fire, and 1 water air deck so far. All right, this is the next sealed pool. I was actually kind of hoping to skip this one because 2 of the packs in this that I'm going to have to take back out are part of my Chicago Escalation Sealed League packs, like 2 of the 6 packs that are going to go with this pile. We're going to do that after this deck, so that's going to be a really interesting build where we're mixing Arthurian Legends Beta and Gothic all together to build a sealed deck. But unfortunately, we had Necromancer, so I think we have to build this deck because I have to show off Necromancer, and there's even a Harbinger, which we haven't talked about. So in this box, we opened 1 of each of the exceptional avatars except for Persecutor. That would have been an interesting one to talk about, so I guess I'll just mention it. I think Persecutor is very good. I think it's very skill intensive. I think you want a deck that has everything costing 4 less mana ideally, but maybe a couple things that cost 5, definitely nothing that costs 6, and you want to just play like a bunch of evil and a bunch of things that care about your opponent's evil, and mostly just move around the board for free and attack your opponent's minions for 2, and get some card advantage that way. Like, just attacking your opponent's stuff is pretty good. And yeah, you just want to build an aggro deck and beat face, and I think that's really powerful. Effects that care about being near your opponent's stuff, like Flame Strike, for example, is extremely powerful with Persecutor because you can just be wherever you want on the board, basically. Like, you just take a free step every turn is basically what that avatar says. Harbinger is quite bad. I think you should just not play Harbinger. I think it could be fun if you're into that kind of thing, but yeah, I think that the random element isn't great, and then also, like, you need to have good rolls and then be able to take advantage of the tempo you get from casting your stuff on your opponent's sites. And it's just pretty hard to put together. I think I would not recommend basically ever building a Harbinger deck. I don't care what your pool looks like. Like, I don't think it really changes the avatar too much. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Harbinger. We're just going to put that in the no pile. Unfortunately, this one is not really playable, but 3 out of the 4 are, so that's really cool. And Necromancer, we're playing this avatar. It's busted. It's, I think, the best avatar ever printed. It's the best avatar in Cube. It's, you know, arguably the best avatar in Constructed. And yeah, this might just be the best draft avatar we've ever seen. Sorcerer is the next best one. And I think Necromancer might just be better than that. Like, Necromancer, you start getting the value on turn 1. Whereas Sorcerer, if you get ran over early, then you just never get to the point where you can actually draw spells with him, and then he's just not really that good. So yeah, Sorcerer has the best late game, Necromancer has the best early game, and I think the early game is just more important probably than the late game, but it really depends, I guess, in who's playing the deck and what your pool looks like. Anyway, Necromancer's busted, so we're going to try to build around Necromancer. Looking at the sites, I don't see anything that really jumps out at me as important. We have a City of Plenty. This gives your opponent mana as well as yourself. Happy that I opened this card that was worth more than the box that I bought, so not going to complain, but also not going to play it in sealed or probably any limited format, including cube. All right, so yeah, we'll just set the sites to the side. We have a Harvest Festival, but Earth Water is not the best element pairing. We have Clay Golem. We have a Torch of Pitchfork, which is a consideration with Necromancer because you have all these ordinary minions. But I might cut it. I'm not saying that I'm playing it for sure. Alabaster Box. This is another card that doesn't affect the board, so not a big fan of that. These artifacts, I haven't talked about these at all, but there's the 1-mana artifacts that give your minion +1 power. I think they're actually fine. And they did just change the layer ruling so that if you do put a Mandrake Jars on a Bound Spirit, it does gain Spellcaster like before it becomes disabled by its ability. So this actually does work now, which is really cool. So really happy about that. So yeah, we'll put these in the maybe pile. All this other stuff we're just not going to play. They don't really affect the board, and that's what we need to be doing with our cards. So that is that. This is the maybe stuff. All right. Ooh, off to a good start here. Dreadwing, Bound Spirit, Screamer, incredible. All right, what else do we got in here? Oh my gosh, a Witching Hour with Necromancer, very powerful. Avenging Angel is very, very good. Earl of the Ivory Tower, wow, okay, yeah, this is a really good air pool. That is really exciting. Another Screamer, a Broomstick Witch to go with our Bound Spirit, a Murder of Crows to deal with our opponent's Necromancer. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is a really, really good air pool. Wow, really excited about that. We even have a Bone Spear, which is very good with Necromancer. Oh, wow. Okay, into that. All right. I'll just put this stuff aside because like even the Foul Bones is technically a consideration. I probably wouldn't play it with Necromancer even, but it is, you know, technically a thing you can do with your skeletons. All right, let's look at the water pool. Okay, Weather Trunks. Frozen Horror, I actually don't think Frozen Horror is that great. I don't know, I just haven't had like great situations with it. I don't know, I think I'm crazy, but also I just haven't seen it be great yet, so what am I supposed to do? So yeah, like water, like these are just minions, like, I don't know, like none of these are really exciting to me. I think Frozen Horror, I guess I should be a little bit excited about, but I'm really not for some reason. The crabs look really cool, but yeah, they get shrunk down to 2 power pretty quick, and then they're just kind of a crappy minion. Good on defense, though. Like, if you just play one site forward and everything else in the back row, and then this guy can just be a 4-power minion for a while until they start, like, wrapping your sites, and then he's a 3-power minion, so I think this takes quite a while for it to be bad if you're playing it very defensively, if you're playing it on curve, and Necromancer does want to play pretty defensive game. Like, it does have a good early game, but also can have an incredible late game, too, because, like, I've played against Necromancer, and we just trade 1 for 1 and 2 for 2 and 2 for 1, and then I 2 for 1 you, and eventually, like, I literally will just run out of cards because they'll just get enough card advantage out of Necromancer. Like, they'll trade 2 skeletons for 1 of my minions, and that just means they got a free card worth of value out of their Necromancer. And yeah, like, they can just gum up the board so bad and make it so hard to actually kill them that you can go super late with Necromancer and deck your opponent. Like, that's crazy. But yeah, the rest of the stuff is kind of mediocre. Not really excited about it. I think water is in the hope not to play pile. I will put it there. Okay, fire. Let's cut the bad cards, and then we'll come back. Ooh, Lord of Destruction. That's a good one. All right, so I guess I'll grab the interactive cards first. Okay, not too much there. This is kind of interactive, I guess, but Lord of Destruction. 6 mana, 6 power minions are fantastic. Very good, just like late game piece of value to have a big minion. We got some good 2-drops. I think these are, you know, some of the best 2-drops in the entire set at Ordinary. I think Forsaken is another one that's extremely, extremely good. And then we just got some fine minions and then a one-shot wizard. So, yeah, I think it looks fine. I mean, we do have a lot of interaction in air. We have 2 Screamers, we have Avenging Angel, Witching Hour, and we have Murder of Crows, and we have Bone Spear. So I don't think I need my second element to be like super heavy on interaction. So I think fire is a reasonable option. Let's look at interaction in earth. We've got Smite, Gift of the Wolf. Do we have a Buried Alive? We don't. Okay. That's all right. Let's look for beefy stuff. We don't have any zombie hordes or monks. All right. We've got, for 3-drops, we've got just Penitent Knight. Okay, yeah, this Earth Pool is looking pretty weak. But the 2-drops, we got 2 Holy Warriors. We have an Entombed, which is, you know, it's fine. And then we have Noisome Twosome, which is pretty good. We got Gravedigger, which can be good. But honestly, in this deck, like, we're probably just going to have to kill our own minion when we play Gravedigger, so hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah, and then we have Angel Ascendant, but, like, we could technically play Virgin and Prayer and ward this, but that's just really not going to happen very often. But happy to have a foil Angel Ascendant. This actually probably will get put in my cube. I don't think the one in my cube is foil right now, so might as well. All right, and yeah, there's a Bless, but you're not paying 1 and a whole card to ward a minion. Exhume is kind of a cool thing with Entombed, but it's not really something I'm excited about. We're already going to get as many Necromancer skeletons as we want, so paying 2 mana for 2 extra skeletons and a whole card is just not really a good idea. So yeah, I think Earth looks pretty mediocre. And one of the cool things, like, there's so many 2-drops here, but Necromancer can actually get away with playing very few 2-drops, because if you don't have a 2-drop, you just make a skeleton. So that's not that bad. So we could actually play, like, you know, 3 2-drops or something, and I would be perfectly happy with that, because we just have early game because of Necromancer. Yeah, I think it's a pretty easy fire air. So let's grab the earth cards and get rid of those. All right, let's do the count right now. So we have earth fire twice. We have earth air twice. We have water air once. So that means we have 1, 2, 3, 4 air decks. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. We have 4 earth decks, 4 air decks. Okay, that's cool. And then we have 1, 2, 3 fire decks, and we have 1 water deck. I think that's pretty reasonable. I think we could have easily had 4, 4, and 4 for earth, fire, and air, and then just 1 or 2 water decks. I think that's what I would normally expect. I think the first time we did this, we had water in like 4 out of the decks or something. Like, it was crazy. So yeah, I think that this is gonna be cool. Let's put this deck together. Alrighty, so I'm looking, and I have 13 ordinaries. And then all the skeletons from Necromancer are also ordinary, so I might actually consider this Torch and Pitchfork. I know people are going to say that I'm crazy and I never used to play this card. I think in Necromancer, yeah, in this specific situation where we have tons of ordinaries in our deck and we have Necromancer, and I'm kind of looking for 2 more cards here, so this is going to be one of them. And then I think Clay Golem is going to be the other one. And then we can consider maybe cutting something for something else. I don't really see anything that I'm too excited about. I do see that we have not many non-minion spells, which is fine, but, you know, it'd be nice to have a little bit more in terms of interactive cards. But yeah, I guess we do have the 2 Screamers, the Avenging Angel, the Ravenous Werewolf, and then we've got these removal spells. You know, not only is Necromancer's ability busted, but it also expands the card pool of playable cards. Like, because I have Necromancer, I can play Torch and Pitchfork, I can play Witching Hour, and I can play Bone Spear, and feel totally happy with that decision. So, wow, yeah. Necromancer is such a crazy, crazy powerhouse. Yeah, I don't think that there's a way to build this deck and not have it be just excellent. So I think, like, there's decks that have way better bombs and a better curve and everything else that we've built, but this is by far the best deck that we've built just because we have Necromancer. Like, even the Savior deck that we have is going to lose to Necromancer like 60% of the time or more, with two players having like the same amount of skill level. Necromancer is so powerful. All right, let's just look at the sites then. We have Twilight Bloom, a Cursed Tower. We have a Cursed Desert, Active Volcano. Active Volcano is nice for a few of our cards. We have Shrike Orchard, which actually is legit. Kill target. When you summon a minion here, you kill beast. Yeah, there are some number of beasts that are 2 or less power, so that is a real card. Another Cursed Desert. And then we've got actually a lot of Earth sites, but that's okay. Our Earth pool just wasn't that great. So yeah, this is going to be the deck, 3 and 3. And yeah, I think the leaders in this sealed experience was Earth and Air, and I think that's correct. And then Fire was just barely behind that, and then Water was way behind. Like, only one deck had Water, and we had like 2 kind of busted elites in that deck that were Water. So that just made sense. So yeah, you need a reason to go into Water. Otherwise, just look at the other 3 elements and, you know, look at the curve, look at the removal, look at the bombs, and, you know, don't underestimate, you know, Dreadwing and Bound Spirit. I think they're both super good cards. Yeah, I don't think that there's too much else to say. I guess, like, the relics, like I mentioned, I'm really low on a lot of these relics, or, you know, artifacts is what I mean. Don't play sites that aren't in your element unless you really have a reason to. So we had a Wuthering Heights, we had a River Rapids. Those are really the 2 that I think of when I think of cards that I would play not in my element. I think City of Glass and City of Souls are playable as well, but you have to be really careful. Those might be the only 4. There might be another one, but yeah, basically those 4 sites you could play, and then all of your other sites should really just be the threshold that you're actually playing. If you also noticed, I didn't consider splashing in any of these decks. You really shouldn't splash. This is not the format to do that. Arthurian Legends and Beta were both a different story. This format, you really just want to be able to play your spells. I would much rather put a couple kind of crappy cards in my deck than be like forced to splash a couple cards from other elements. You know, like you might want to splash an Ice Shards or something like that, but I just think you shouldn't do that. I have splashed, I think, like once or twice ever, and I've drafted a lot of Gothic. And I think the cards that I would consider splashing that you might reasonably get to the point where you should splash: 2 Dreadwings or 2 Zombie Hordes. I think those are the 2 cards that I can think of that I would actually splash for. Maybe 2 Trial by Fire. I can't really think of anything else. But single pip cards that are expensive or that you don't need to play on curve, those are the cards that are actually splashable, and I would try not to, but in some situations, like, I would definitely not play a Torch and Pitchfork or a Bullwhip or something like that and put 2 Dreadwings in my deck and then put 2 Air Sights in my deck to splash the 2 Dreadwings. I think that's reasonable, but 95% of the time you should not splash. So especially if you're newer to Draft, if you're newer to Sealed, you're newer to Sorcery, you should just have a hard and fast rule in Gothic: I will never splash, just don't do it, and you'll have a better win rate because of it. All right, thanks for following along on this. I don't think I'm going to do like a follow-up thing where I build all these decks on TTS like I did last time, but I think it's pretty clear from this what cards are good and which are not, and the elements that you should and should not be playing, mostly Water just being the one that's a little bit harder to really have a pool that supports a good Water build. And yeah, obviously Savior is, most of the time, you should just basically always play Savior, I think. Like, even if you're not in Earth, I mean, most of the decks that I built were Earth, so already that means Savior is probably just worth playing. But even if you're not, even if you have 8 minions that can be warded, I think you should still play Savior, most likely. But also you need to have some amount of skill to actually know when you should and should not be playing off curve toward your minions. You know what, guys? I recorded the whole outro, and then I forgot that I was going to build this last really cool sealed deck. So this is the Chicago Escalation sealed deck league that I mentioned a couple of times. I have 2 packs of Arthurian Legends, 2 packs of Beta, 2 packs of Gothic, and I'm going to build a sealed deck. And this is what I'm actually going to be playing in an event, so maybe you see me struggle with my decisions a little bit more. I am expecting to be playing 2 elements plus a splash, and the reason is I have a Valley of Delight and I have a Ruins. And honestly, water is pretty bad in Gothic, water is pretty bad in Beta, and it's pretty good in Arthurian Legends. Like, it might be the best or second best in Arthurian Legends, but it's the worst in the other 2 formats. And I think water is my smallest pile, which I was really happy to see because there's just going to be a lot more bad water cards. So I think right away, let's just look at this. So it's Riptide, Shameless Squire. I mean, Squires are going to be good. When they're true, that's pretty nice. There's the Crab, you know, whatever. There's some random 3-drops. There's an Ice Shards. You know, there's like 3 or 4 cards that I'm actually excited about in water. I'm just going to immediately say water has like a 5% chance of being what I'm actually playing. We have 2 avatars actually, but unfortunately neither one is really playable. Enchantress, I mean, we can see, but I really doubt that we're going to have enough auras for this. And Harbinger, I already covered that in the last deck build, just not really a playable avatar, but cool that we got 2 avatars at least. I mean, this ate up one of our elite unique slots, so not too happy about that one, but that's okay. Yeah, but that just means like Earth, Fire, Air is probably what we're going to be playing, some combination of that. And that just means like this is going to help us with our splash. I guess unless we're Fire, Air, then this doesn't really help us with our splash as our main 2 elements. But it kind of does anyway, because it means, you know, you can play an Earth site and that'll just be fine. But if we are Earth, Fire, for example, and this is an Air Splash card and this is potentially an Air Threshold, then we might be able to get away without playing any air sites. But if we do, there is a Lone Tower and a Desert I can already see. So probably we're going to have Ruins, Valley of Delight, and then at least 1 other site in that off element because of these really powerful sites from Beta. All right, and then also we have a Trinket. This is just an incredible card. Very, very powerful. So this is, you know, maybe one of the best cards that we open in our whole pool, because we're just going to play it in our deck throughout the entire Escalation League. This is going to be on our deck, guarantee it. So that's really, really cool. Let's just start cutting some cards. So let's look at the artifacts first. Four-Berry Knot only protects against 4 power minions. That's just not really a helpful thing. Just a Rock is, I guess, fine, but I mean, it's not really fine. People just don't play that many artifacts that we need to be teching against them. Thumbscrews only deals damage. It doesn't, you know, deal with anything on board. Clay Golem, I did play this in my last deck, and I might play it here. We'll see. Probably. I mean, we only have 6 packs, so this is like a regular size sealed deck for now. Eventually, the deck size will increase. This is the first time I've ever done an Escalation League, so it's going to be really interesting to see how this deck build actually goes. So yeah, really excited to get into this. I've done this for other people, but never for myself. So let's just look through the elements first, get an idea of what we're working with. Hosta Eagle, really like that. There's a Squire that is a fine Squire. We have an Earl of the Ivory Tower. This is going to be really good early in the Escalation League. There's just going to be tons of ordinaries. All right, I thought someone was here. But and then we have Screamer, Murder of Crows, Broomstick Witch. So yeah, there is a good amount of stuff I'm interested in with air. I guess the splashable cards, I'm not too into splashing air, it looks like, but as a primary element, I think that is definitely a real option. Kobolds, Incinerate are both very splashable. Wow, a lot of splashable cards in fire, but also just a lot of powerful cards in fire, so we probably want this as a primary element. It's, I think, the element that we open the most cards in, so I'm not surprised to see that. So pretty easy look over there. Yeah, I like Vanguard Knight quite a bit. 3 mana for potentially 4 power is really good. Longbowman is obviously excellent. Common Sense is pretty good. Brown Bears, really happy to see that one. No berries. That's kind of sad. No removal at all, I think. Yeah. Huh. The closest thing is like common sense for a fire removal spell or something. But yeah, I mean, we have Vanguard Knight, we have Longbowman. Those are both splashable, I guess. But yeah, I guess Earth isn't looking that exciting. So yeah, yeah, there's actually kind of a lot of bad cards in this pool of Earth cards. So, I feel like Earth will eventually be a good thing for us, but probably not so far in our pool. All right, let's do what I was really expecting to do, which is fire is, I think, second best in beta. Fire is, I think, the best element in Arthurian Legends, and then I think fire is the second best element in Gothic. So second best, second best means that we were just really likely to be playing fire in this kind of sealed league. Like, just from power level of individual cards alone, fire is just doing really well in limited as a whole up to this point. And as you can see, we just have a lot of good minions and a lot of good removal spells. I'm putting the cards that don't really affect the board, or like 3 mana, 1 power minion. Why? Why is that a thing? I don't know. Shatter Strike, Fire Breathing. Yeah, we got some really bomb removal spells. Joust is like, I can take it or leave it kind of removal. And then Trinket is definitely making the deck. Reckless Squire is the best Squire. Pressing Ruffians is one of the best 3 mana, 3 power minions at Ordinary ever printed. Lesser Blood Demon, Noxious Corpse. Both really excellent cards, and then some kind of mediocre stuff that I would hope not to play, but we can put this in a pile down here just in case we need it. Yeah, Fisherman Family, we're not going to splash for water or anything, so we can just put that one to the side. So yeah, fire, like, this is already more than half of our deck, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this is 17 cards already. We could go up to 18, 19, 20, 21 if we really wanted to and be almost mono fire. But, you know, if you're ever thinking about that, there's almost no reason not to play a second element. Like, you don't really get that much benefit out of having all fire sites in your deck. You should just play other sites and have really cool, powerful sites. Yeah, like, if you have 7 fire sites in your deck, you're going to be able to cast all your spells. So why not just play second element and increase your power level? So yeah, unless you're like Flame Color or something that like actually matters to have all fire cards, but yeah, basically never really a consideration to play mono element other than maybe cube, or if you're in Arthurian Legends and you're doing the Leyline Henge thing, that could be a real possibility. Anyway, yeah, there's always some corner cases to the rule, but the rule is don't play mono element. All right, so what is this? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There's 17 cards here. The cards that are cuttable are like Joust and Mad Dash. Everything else is like, I'm definitely playing it. Maybe Blaze is another one. So maybe like 3 cards out of this we could actually cut. All right, well, I mean, it's like we could just take like the best of the air cards and this could be our second element. Yeah, I don't really care that much about anything else. I think the next best card is Power Flight. Yeah, everything else, I'm just gonna immediately cut all of this. Okay, and then let's look at Earth. Okay, so there's these 4 I'm interested in. And then, yeah, I don't, like some Twosome is pretty good. Fomorian's just too expensive. Like 7 mana minions are just too slow. I don't really care what format you're playing. Unless you're playing cube, I guess. That's the exception. Yeah, nothing else here is really piquing my interest. So let's put these aside. All right, so maybe I'm wrong, actually. Maybe we will just play 2 elements straight up and just not worry about splashing. So really the thing that we are looking for from our second element is minions. So we only have 9 minions in fire out of the ones that we chose. I mean, there's a couple down here, but so that's kind of what I'm looking for in my other cards. So these are all minions and they're all excellent. And then this is like good removal. Power Flight I like a lot. I guess it's not as good as Mad Dash, so it probably won't make the cut, but it is at least worth having in the pool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards here. Yeah, so this is a real consideration. If we did this, it would be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 minions. That's still not quite enough. And kind of same from the earth side. I kind of feel like we're playing Clay Golem for sure. And then if we did air, it would be, I think, Weightless Squire, Screamer, Earl, Host Eagle. And then definitely Murder of Crows, definitely Broomstick Witch, probably not Power of Flight. Okay. And that puts us at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 minions. Okay. I guess that's acceptable, but still kind of low. So if we did want to splash, we could splash for like 2 minions here. But there's actually not really good earth sites in this pile, which is really what I was looking forward to from, you know, the ability to splash and have some good sites. It's like I would be playing like an open grave, which is fine. That's it. Like, not really excited about that. And then, by the way, we have Bottomless Pit and City of Plenty. I already talked about City of Plenty, but Bottomless Pit is not one of the non-threshold sites that I would actually consider playing, so we'll just cut those right away. I guess I can remove the water sites because we're not playing water for sure. Do we have any blooms? I don't really see any blooms. Okay. All right, so let's do another count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. This is 24 cards. I don't feel great about the amount of minions, though. This is 15. I kind of want to put both of these in. That would get us up to 17 minions. But then, unfortunately, Ruins is the card that we got for fixing. So it would be like, I guess, Valley of Delight plus at least 1 earth site. So we could play an open grave. And then our threshold would be, I guess, 5, 5, and then these. So it would be like kind of 6, 6, 2, which is good. Huh. But then what are we cutting for these 2 minions? I guess it would be maybe Mad Dash Blaze. I guess Joust actually is not looking very good. We have a lot of 3-power minions. We actually have no 4-power minions in our pool. That's crazy. Huh. Yeah, actually don't have the brown bears in our deck because it's double earth threshold. So Joust for sure, and then I'm not sure about the other one. I think Blaze is probably better than Mad Dash. Yeah, it does do kind of a lot. Yeah, I'd be more into Mad Dash if I had less 2-drops, but I think we're just going to be able to play something on turn 2, so that's probably just better than cycling a Mad Dash anyway. Alright. So yeah, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 7 pieces of removal, and that's 17 minions, which is kind of perfect. Yeah, and I think we do need those extra minions. Like, if we had a bunch of beefy minions, then maybe we could get away with having 15 minions, but just the fact that, you know, we have only 3-power minions means that, you know, we'll just run out of power eventually, and we don't want to run out of power. Also, like, Trinket is better when you have more minions. Yeah, if I don't want to splash these 2 cards, then I'd have to put in, like, a Camel and a Scout. I really don't like these guys. So, yeah, I think we'll do that. I think we will splash for 2 Earth cards. They are 2 good Earth minions. And then we'll do Open Grave and Valley of Delight as kind of the 2 Earth cards. And then we have Ruins, and then actually we have 5 and 4. So we'll have to figure out what those are. Yeah, powerful Firesides. Really looking good there. We've got 3 Earth sites that we're just not going to play. I think Open Grave is just the best of all of these. And I think that's fine. And then we have Lone Tower. Happy to have that, obviously. Oh, yeah, happy to have that one. Making sure that we were actually playing air. All right, so I'm going to do a threshold count, and we'll kind of figure things out. So we got 2 Earth cards, and we have 2 Earth threshold in our decks, Valley of Delight and Open Grave. I think that's totally reasonable. I don't want to mess with my other threshold more than that. So just having these two is going to be pretty nice. All right, this is how I really do the threshold count. This is how you actually see what you need and what you don't. You just lay them out and then you count the threshold. So yeah, this is the way I do it. So definitely more fire than air. We can already see that. So I think it's a pretty easy decision. We're just going to go 5, 4, and 3. And then we'll really have 6, 7 fire threshold. We'll have 4 of these, so 4, 5, 6 air threshold still. That's great. I mean, there's not that many air cards. And then we have 2 earth threshold for our 2 cards that we're splashing. So definitely a more interesting deck build experience doing this kind of mix between all the sets. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean that fire is very unbalanced compared to all the other things, and water is very unbalanced. Like, water is very bad, fire is very, very good, and then earth and air have kind of been in the middle. Like, air has just always been a middle element. It's never been the best or worst. So that's totally fine. Yeah, we got a good 3-element deck. I mean, really, basically mono fire, and then, you know, I mean, not super balanced between the elements, but that is totally fine. Because, yeah, we have a lot of fire cards, and fire's the best element. So, yeah, pretty happy with that. I think that is the deck build. And that is the last one for this, and now I will play the outro that I recorded before. All right, that was a lot of talking, and I hope you guys learned a lot. Please comment if you have questions. Please subscribe to my channel. I haven't not really been telling people to subscribe, but please subscribe if you've been watching. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm at like 600 right now, so I'd really like to push that up to 700 as fast as possible. Like, every time I get to that next 100 subscriber level, I feel really good. If you guys really like my content, you can support me on Patreon at the $5 or $10 level. I really, really appreciate that, and it really means the world to be able to make a little bit of money on the side doing this kind of sorcery content and teaching everyone all the things that I know about Limited. You know, I like to give it to you in a way that hopefully you can disseminate and be able to take down your local tournaments. So thanks for following along, and please subscribe and do all of that, and I'll catch you in another video.